Okay. All right. Welcome on in, everybody, to the Central Committee stream with your host, Mike from PA. We are live. Today is the day of mogging. Francesca Hong is in sunny Los Angeles, California. No suit? Don't you see what I'm wearing? Does Hassan have merch? Is Hassan gonna have merch when he starts his stream? I didn't think so. I did not think so. So we're gonna have a couple things. The first is chat. We've got to shame Hassan into raising more money for people. Let's be completely honest. He's not very good at raising money for candidates. Let's be completely honest. Like, there's multiple times where I have outraised him or like competed with him, and he's like, you know, got 10 times the viewers. And part of the fun is you have to make it into a game with the chat, you know, and he doesn't do that. He just kind of offhandedly mentions it. So in order to help Francesca, we're going to mog Hassan. What could he do better? I don't want to give away too many of the tricks because then they don't work on you guys. But I think the one that all of us could understand is competition. Competition. Two fundraising tricks that are not unethical. One, donor matching, and two, well, it depends on what you do, how you do that. To be honest, there are unethical ways of donor matching, of doing that. And then and the other one is competition. And then, so, you know, I think we need to give him a little bit of some competition. Am I right, chat? I didn't know he was raising money till afterwards. That's about it. I mean, yeah. Yep, 1,000% Hassan fundraiser was stuck at 13K until you mentioned you raised 13K. They pushed it to 30K. Oh, you mean about Hartzell? I mean, there you go. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. And again, it's not because his community isn't generous or anything. It's just he's not doing it the right way, which is okay. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Raising, like, there's two things that are very awkward if you've never worked in a campaign. One, raising money. Two, field work. You guys have seen Hassan attempt to do both, and he was very autistic. Now, luckily, you could easily get through it. You know, you could easily power through it. You just need a little bit of exposure therapy. That's all. So let me see here. Let me just... So what else are we going to talk about? So Francesca will be on later in the stream, chat, obviously. So we're going to have a HOGWATCH. New CNN K-file article against Daria Lisa. Push for Julie. She has a big chance. I actually think Julie Gonzalez actually might win. I think she might win. I think if Assad helped Gonzalez, she would win, to be honest with you. Supreme Court allows states to count mail-in ballots that arrive late, rejecting RNC challenge. Justices ruled that a Mississippi law that allows ballots to be counted as long as they were sent by his election day is not prohibited under federal law. I mean, like, obviously, right? Because if you said that, then basically you would make overseas voting, especially by like military members, impossible. So that's a reasonable decision. And here we go, chat. AOC is now less popular than Zoran. She's among Democrats. I mean, are you interested to talk about FIFA fixing the World Cup for Argentina to push out Iran? I think Iran getting pushed out was fucking crazy. That sucked ass. Iran was very clearly deserving of continuing. They got screwed big time. VAR is bullshit. I feel like, how do I put this? I think VAR is good. However, I think the offsides rule needs adjusting in the world of VAR because human beings do not have super precision. And the way that VAR is calibrated make it almost luck with whether you're offsides or not, because your ability to like perceive whether or not you're on or offsides is significantly fuzzier than the line. So they need to if I were, you know, making the rule, I would wide the offside line. You know how in hockey they have lines. They have an offside rule too. But it's a fixed point on the ice, right? And they have the blue line, right? Which is what it's called for your zone. But the thing about the hockey lines is that they have a wide line, right? Like it's the inner edge that makes you offsides or not. But the line itself is pretty wide. I'd like to see the VAR kind of that line expanded out, like maybe like 3 inches in each direction, so that as long as you're in that band, like make a fat line, as long as you're in that band of a flat line, that way human beings can actually like perceive whether you're offsides or not. Because now it's like toenails and shit, and that's just not real. That's just stupid as fuck. Because nobody has the kinesthetic sense of knowing exactly where all parts of their body are with like micro precision. That would be my suggestion. I mean, there will still be toenails, but at that point, you're clearly like, if you're like 3 more inches, okay, well now, you know, the toenail being over the line, it's not really a toenail. It's you have used the entire kind of fat line of the VAR. See what I mean? So that's the suggestion that I would make if I were in charge of the rules. Mike is wrong. There's no fucking way I'm wrong. Surely then the VAR would result in more stupid decisions? No, they wouldn't be stupid, because the guy would clearly be offsides because it would be 3 more inches. So you would be using toenails. It would be, oh dude, you were 3 inches and a toenail offside. Just to give people a little bit more wiggle room within like human perception. And how did we get on this topic? We're talking about the World Cup. Did you see what's happening in Iraq? There's almost no coverage, but it looks like a coup. Oh no, I didn't see that. Barry Weiss endorses Mallory McMorrow. This is all you need to know. This is all you need to know about who Mallory McMorrow is. And total Mike from PA vindication. Total Mike from PA vindication that she's a Zionist. Just the other day, we were talking about how she was putting her secret article into APAC. Or secret, you know, position paper to APAC. And I want to say something, chat, that's actually kind of funny. You can make fun of Hutch and now get thousands of likes. All I said was the kiss of Hutch, and I got 2,300 likes. Like, god damn. Everybody understands how much of a joke he is. And the reason why it's the kiss of Hutch is that there was a new primary poll of the Michigan Senate race. Abdul El-Sayed was at 46%, Stevens 39, McMorrow 9. And again, chat, this is underestimating him. I want you guys to know this, that polling is going to underestimate the progressive in these elections. Like that's what you need to know. They underestimated Daria Lisa by significant margins. They underestimated Claire by significant margins. They underestimated even Brad Lander by significant margins. And notice how I nailed all those races? Because I understood. Why did I understand that? Well, because I actually studied what happens and I came up with a model in my mind of voter psychology and turnout performance based on current conditions. Whereas other people, they don't do that. They go off models off of, you know, maybe 2024 turnout or 2022. And it's just not, it's not the correct model of what the electorate's going to look like. What are your thoughts on the new Siena poll? I'd say that it underestimates Plattner by a significant amount. I would say it's an outlier poll for Susan Collins' favorability, and she's still losing. Can we get your official prediction for tomorrow? Yeah, let me think about it. Mike, I think you'd like this article from a local NYC independent newspaper and how Mamdani chose to back Valdez and Daria Lisa. Ooh, the rise of Tamam Dani Hall. That's hard to say, but we got it. Tamam Dani Hall. Okay, we got it. We did it. Shortly after. Okay, so what are we going to talk about today? Obviously, Francesca Hong is coming in. That's going to be in a few hours, chat. Let me make sure. Let me pull open my Gmail quick. I almost had a heart attack because I thought my Gmail was on the screen. Not something that we like to do, not something we like to have open when we're streaming, but it happens sometimes. It's early in the fucking morning. I'm excited she's getting attention. This is what I tell politicians. I go, listen, if your primary is out months from now, in the election cycle, you're very close to election day, right? But for the internet, you're not. Right. And in the internet, we try to we pay attention to people that are their races that are like a month away. You know, like if you're more than a month away, it's going to be tough, you know. So we'd see all those raids, Shadow Legends sponsor emails. I have like emails that I have are like Jubilee. What up? Excuse me. Stuff like that. Chat, Mike was on Team Hong a year ago. Well, yeah, no shit. Let me see if they gave me a new fundraiser. Okay, they gave me a new fundraising link. I personally would have wanted to keep the old fundraising link instead of starting a new... Wait, what the fuck? This one sucks. No, fuck this. Francesca, I'm audibling. I'm using the old one so we can mog Hassan, which I should have told you. We're audibling. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. We're not going to start a new one. That being said, you guys, we have to push this one higher. Okay? We got to push this one higher. The reason why we're using the old one, even though I understand they want me to raise more money, is the purpose is to raise more money from Hassan. I'm overruling the campaign because I understand better how streaming works. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Like the other link they gave me didn't include a number either. That I should have noticed that. Fuck. Flag on the play. Mods, can you pin this? This is the one we're using. We're using the other one because I want to mog Hassan. Because if we do a new link and we raise like 8 grand, right? That's gonna result in Hassan's people raising like 16 grand. If I drop a link of 25, 30 grand, that's gonna cause Hassan's community to raise like 45, 60 grand. It's way better that if we come in there with a big dick 25k or more than it is if we drop like a little piddly 8k. Even though for Francesca, you know, we might raise more from me with the 8k. Trust me, I know how this works. This is going to be better in the long term. So I'm audibling and I'm not using the other link. Sorry, Francesca. Saying it sounds cringe. Guys, you're in on the game. You guys get it. We're milking Hassan's audience for Francesca. You guys are on my team, and we're gonna embarrass Hassan's community. You know what I mean? By having a bigger number than him, and that's gonna make him get fired up and want to actually raise more money for her. I know there's psychology over there. All right, I know there, and even though I'm saying this, it's still gonna work. It's still gonna work. Last 4 cases to be cited by SCOTUS tomorrow. Do you think they will side with Trump on birthright? You know, I really. Here's what I will tell you. My general feeling on the Supreme Court is I have 2 minds. The first is we are living in a fascist epoch, and under fascism, the judiciary becomes a willing and subordinate institution to the fascist. That's what happened to Germany, which of course it did. You don't think that listen, you don't think Jewish people in Germany had really good legal arguments for how they're human beings and they deserve rights? You know what I mean? Like, obviously they did, right? So what happened is all of the judges that actually practice law using any sort of, statutory or legal construction that wasn't whatever Hitler wants were put into fucking prison. And then you got nothing but sycophants. You guys know in Andor has a scene, Andor court scene. This is what fascist courts look like. This is what they're turning the immigration court into.
Loitering at the scene of a crime, walking an unleashed massive animal fouling.
4 months. Next.
Keith Gurgle. Keith Gurgle.
Here. Name?
Hey, Keith Gargo.
Charges?
Civil disruption, anti-imperial speech, fleeing the scene of anti-imperial activity, attempted damage to imperial property.
I'm sorry, there's something wrong.
I wouldn't. You got enough trouble without a resisting judgment charge.
I'm just a tourist.
Oh, apologies all round then. This used to be a 6-month sentence. 6 years.
6 years? No, wait! But
Change of guidelines.
Take him away.
I didn't do anything! Hey!
Take it up with the Emperor.
Wait! I'm just a tourist!
And like that's basically what it is. It's just a paperwork filling out clerk. There's no legal arguments, there's no evidence. The very fact that you've been accused is all the evidence they need. And ironically, he wasn't guilty. He was actually a tourist. He had successfully stolen and robbed, money, and he was living, as a tourist, and he was just walking around the beach when he got caught up in some sort of dragnet. And that is the reality of the law under a fascist regime. Now, why am I bringing that up to your question with the Supreme Court? That's generally how I'm interpreting the Supreme Court. Just like ICE protesters getting 450 years in jail, exactly, like just happened, where they gave them consecutive terms instead of concurrent. Typically, when, like, say that I get convicted of a crime, usually what like, let's say I break into someone's house, I steal something, and then, you know, somebody wakes up and I punch them out and run, right? I will get like a bunch of different crimes, like felony assault, burglary, blah, 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 blah. But the way it would normally work is, and each one of those crimes has a certain punishment. But usually what the judge will do is they will say, okay, you're serving all those. So say you get 1 year for breaking and entering and 5 years for felony assault. While you're in prison for 5 years, they will count the one, they'll do all the crimes as running concurrently, right? But what the judges did for the ICE guys is they said they're consecutive. So the first 5 years for disorderly conduct, and the next 5 years for this, and the next 5 years. So it's, you know, it's, if instead of them getting like 5 to 10 years in prison, they're now getting 50 years. So yeah, we're gonna use the old fundraiser chat. So let's try to get it to 25K. If we could get it to 25K, then I'll throw in another. What do you guys think? How much should I throw in? Another 250? I want to show you this, but it's gonna show my login, so I don't want to bring it on. I don't want to bring it on the screen because it shows my like login, which is very annoying. I just donated before the stream to her campaign. Well, donate again. Did you see this insane cartoon on? Yeah, I did. All right, so long story short, I think the Supreme Court is very likely to give Trump what he wants. However, and this is the counter argument to everything I just said. There's also what we call the legitimacy of the court, which is something that the Supreme Court is very, very aware of. The Supreme Court understands that if everybody in the country thinks they're overruling what the people want, and they're not, and they're hacks and they're partisans, well, then the Supreme Court, as we understand it, the court of judicial review, the court of, like, you know, final arbitration of dispute, will go away because the Constitution does not enshrine the Supreme Court with the powers that it currently has. The Supreme Court claimed those powers through Marbury versus Madison. So logically, the president and the Congress could pass laws basically taking away the ability of the Supreme Court to act like it is now, or to expand it, or to remove judges, or to add 30 more judges. All of that is within the power of the legislature and the president. So the Supreme Court knows this, and so they have to make sure that the vibes are still good. They have to make sure that regular people are still accepting the legitimacy and the authority of the Supreme Court. Sorry about that, chat. Microphone is too low. I want to like raise it up a bit. So, Mike, feel free to insinuate Hassan has tons of bots in his chat. Are you fucking insane? No. What the fuck? Daria Lisa is the furthest left candidate in Congress. DSA looking to replace replicate New York and Colorado tomorrow for Melat. I think Melat's gonna win by like at least 10, and I think Gonzalez is gonna go down to the wire. And all of us are going to be like, why did we do more for Gonzalez? We could have won. That's exactly what's gonna happen. I think Melat's got it by at least 10. That being said, is there any polling? She's up 5 in the polls. Oh God. Okay, she's gonna win by at least 15 then. But again, you run through the tape, chat. Do you think AOC would pardon the ICE protester sentences? Certainly could. Do you think Hassan could vote back for Julie at the 11th hour, or is it too late? I mean, it's never too late. It's never too late. The thing is, Hickenlooper is really right-wing and very unpopular, and he could easily be defeated. It's just Gonzalez, is she not DSA? Like, what's the deal with Gonzalez? I don't think the president could pardon state sentences, because as far as I know, it's not state sentences, right? I'm pretty sure this is a federal prosecution. So yes, they could be pardoned.
Good morning. What's up, everybody? I'm Jacob Soboroff. It is Sunday, June 28th, and you are watching Connect. You know my happy place is an election day, and we are once again just days away from another important primary election here in America. Voters will head to the polls in Colorado to vote in primaries for the governorship and the House and the Senate and other state races. And after the progressive sweep in New York City on Tuesday, one House race just got really...
Fence sitter getting cooked with ratio. I don't. I actually, as much as I don't like Chudwig, or if even though he's not my cup of tea, I don't think that's tactically a good move. I don't think that's tactically a good move to just like try to like you know, randomly try to like get some sort of hate mob on him. I don't think that actually makes sense. Also, I mean, let me just be completely honest. Like, Ludwig donated money to Palestine relatively early, and he got a ration of shit for it. When it was very unpopular to be pro-Palestine, instead of people being like, hell yeah, that's a win, they like turned it into an L by like going, what took you so long? And it was like well ahead of the curve. You know what I mean? Like, here's the thing. I was right on this shit on October 7th, right? I was pro-Palestine years and years and years before anybody else was. You know what I mean? Like, in this space. If I acted like that, like, oh my God, what took you guys so long? I would have 0 people in here. You know what I mean? So when somebody is like, when it's like 2024 and somebody came out in favor of Palestine in 2024, I tend to give them a fucking benefit of the doubt, right? Like, I don't think it's a good idea to like dog on people for coming over to your side. I just generally don't like that. And I consider that Tumblr energy, and that's woke one, and it just sucks. Dog on people that don't agree with you. Dog on your enemies. Don't dog on people that are like coming in your direction. That's just my general feeling about that. Look at this to get context. God, this is so fucking stupid, but I'm doing it just because I'll see if I agree or disagree.
By the way, I don't know if you guys have seen, there's quite a few creators. I know Jarvis, Eddie Burback, I think Hassan. There's a bunch of creators who are doing a charity stream for, I think it's the PCRF, Palestinian.
This is really good. This was so long ago. This is awesome. This is so good.
In children's...
He's like drawing attention. So what are we saying?
Refugee fund? I want to say that's right. I didn't join it because... I find ultimately, like, if I were to do a charity thing where the charity thing relies on your donations, it should be something where like 95% of people feel good and are down for it. And like,
I mean, my main problem, like, this is just how most creators think. This is how most creators think. Like, unironically, this is how most of them think. Like, he's just saying the quiet part out loud. Like, unironically, this is the way most of them think. And I think it's, you know, bad PR to say it, but it is the way they are. Why do you think people don't fuck with like Hassan or myself? It's because we don't think like this.
Ultimately, regardless of what you think, that is not the situation here. So I personally donated 10.
By the way, he's completely right. He's completely right. And look at that. The chat is correct. The chat is correct. The chat is rebelling. That's the way to fucking pressure Ludwig. His own chatters. But he donated 10K to PCRF. He drew his attention. Okay. This is what I'm talking about with woke one. This is what I'm talking about with woke one. You know, chat, in politics, you need to do politics. I'll say that one more time so it sinks in. In politics, you need to be able to do politics. What do I mean by that? The idea that everyone agrees with you on everything and all you need to do is force compliance through like a coercion is delusional. And this, okay, so what happened? Ludwig said, hey, I don't usually participate in fundraisers for politically charged stuff, but there's this fundraiser going on with a lot of my friends that I would like to draw your attention to. And I want you to know I donated 10K, but as far as on my main stream, I don't personally feel comfortable bringing something so politically charged onto it. He says this openly onto his stream. Now, there are two ways to interpret this. There are two ways you could interpret this. The first is what I would call woke one Tumblr, which is, you fucking sellout, disgusting piece of shit. I can't believe you're not doing this. It's a genocide. How dare you not go on the fundraiser? How dare you not bring this politically charged content onto your stream? I am so disappointed in you. I hate you. You're a piece of shit. That's the woke one way. The second way, which we'll call the politically astute way, is to go, hey guys, did you hear Ludwig donated 10K to Palestine? Even Fencewig is on the side of Palestine now. Oh, is to take the clip of him talking about the fundraiser and post it everywhere. Everywhere, Ludwig endorsed the fundraiser. Everybody go over to the fundraiser. This is great. Blah, 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 blah. And you pressure Ludwig to be more pro fundraiser by giving him positive reinforcement for the thing that he said. And you use audience capture to draw him over to our side more. Because again, he gave 10K to Palestine, $10,000, and he gave a shout out to the fundraiser. Now, that is, so both ways of interpreting it are completely valid, by the way, just so you know. Both ways are completely valid. The Tumblr woke one way is completely valid. I know why you feel that way. I agree with that. I'm frustrated when people are pretending they don't know what's going on. I'm frustrated when people are soft on moral issues like the Gaza genocide. I get it. I'm with you 100,000%. But then I'm also in politics, and I understand if I judged all of you by what I know and what I believe, none of you would make it. None of you would make it. And then I'm sure there's somebody out there who could do the same to me, right? There's probably a 1 in a 50 million guy who's more, been on the left longer than me and knows more than me who could judge me. There's always someone who's more woke. There's always someone who's been down for the shit longer than you. So like, I just don't agree with this. I don't agree with this as a strategy. Because what is it good? Because why? Because I have cognitive empathy. So what happens? Imagine you're Ludwig. You're a little bit nervous about weighing in on this Gaza genocide. You know that a large portion of your audience wants you to say something, but you're worried because Israel has a lot of power and they could do things to damage your career, right? And you're like, and maybe you even agree that there's a Gaza genocide going on, but you're worried about damaging your future. Now, is that self-centered? Abso-fucking-lutely. Of course it is. But I'm just being honest, okay? I'm just being honest. Plenty of people are not sacrificing themselves for Gaza, okay? In fact, I'd say 99.9% of people who care about the cause are not sacrificing themselves for Gaza. Okay, so you're Ludwig, you're thinking about it, but you want to do something to help people. And so you dip your toe into it by shouting out a fundraiser that some of your friends are doing. They're taking the risk and throwing $10,000 of your own money. And then you see you get canceled and attacked by the people on the pro-Gaza side. So let me get this straight. I take personal brand risk because, by the way, what he just did is brand risk. If you don't know that, you're fucking stupid. What he just did was brand risk. What he just did was step off the fence on our side of the fence. Do you think Zionists like this? You think Zionists are like, oh yeah, he gave $10,000 to PCRF. That's okay. Oh, he shouted out a major Gaza fundraiser. That's okay. Do you think Zionists are like, oh, that's fine? No, the only reason they haven't gone after him is because they're losing. They don't like that shit. There's bigger fish to fry. So ultimately, what I'm telling you is, can you please do some politics? Can you please do some motherfucking politics in your politics? Like, what are we doing? Ethan Klein also donated. Do you think that's also sympathetic? No, because Ethan Klein is trying to cancel and is expressly attacking and deplatforming pro-Palestinian people and spreading pro-Zionist propaganda all the time. So the donation, by the way, was also $1,500. You're making an argument that doesn't follow. And so, I'm sorry, do some politics in your politics, which is like, when somebody starts coming in your direction and they don't have a tradition of supporting Israel, they don't have a long-term, if they were some deep Zionist who was attacking all of us and then they donated a couple of dollars, that would be one thing. But if they're like an apolitical person who's finally dipping their toes into joining our side, how about welcoming them instead of fucking going after them and making them feel unwelcome? That's stupid. Like, unironically, that chatter is trying to be like, if you donate to Palestine, that's actually evidence you're not pro-Palestine. That's the world you're trying to create. Bro, what is wrong with you, man? Why do you think that Ludwig is the person that we need to be inquisitorially beating up? And this is coming from me. Again, remember the source. Mike from PA, not exactly the most gentle content creator who goes around tiptoeing. If I'm looking at it and going, okay, this is a little bit ridiculous to go after Ludwig for donating. And yeah, he was a little cowardly and I wish he had gone on the fundraiser, but he's definitely not going to do it now. Like, what are you doing? This is a nice event, because it's ridiculous. The guy gave 10K. Do you know how much? I mean, yeah, he's rich, but still $10,000. Like, come on, man. That's a lot of help for people. Again, oh my Lord in heaven, somebody save me. My $50 is more valuable than his 10,000 because it's more for me. What are you, Jesus fucking Christ? Are you a consequentialist or a moralist? Are you a materialist or are you a baby? Like, Jesus Christ. And again, the fact that Ludwig gave 10K is advertising for us. These streamers always want to play dice. I'm actually gonna ban you. I don't give a fuck how long you've been here. Goodbye. I don't give a fuck. Don't appeal. You're gone. Anybody else want to question my interpretation? Do you think Ludwig is going to help me or support me in any way? Do you think I'm gaining anything from this? In fact, I'm probably going to get stupid fucking Hoscord chatters going, oh, Mike is attacking us because we're not going along with this, like, attempted, like, this was really stupid, we're doubling down. You brought it to me, you're gonna get my answer. This is dumb as fuck. Regardless if it were valid or not, this will be read as Hassan attacking Ludwig, as if he's not dealing with enough bullshit already. Exactly. And did Hassan want to attack Ludwig on this? Like, Hassan was already, again, part of the reason, again, I'm not even gonna get into it because I don't want to blame people for bad shit Ludwig has done, but like, part of the frustration that I'm sure Hassan feels is that his community goes after people that have not done anything negative and make it seem like interacting with him is going to get you canceled even when you try to do the right thing. That's bad. Ludwig dogpiled Frogan too. He leaned into the Islamophobic harassment. I'm sure he did evil shit. I'm taking this video out from the people said this is the context.
Okay. Because I think it is worthwhile.
This is a waiting room for Hassan who has better politics than Mike. What does that even mean? Okay, bye. Okay, bye. You're the one moralizing philanthropy. You guys are dumb. Like, you're actually too stupid. You're too stupid. I don't think, by the way, I'll send your name over to Hassan and try to get you banned there as well. I don't think he'll want you there either. Fucking dumbass. You think that Hassan is in favor of this, by the way?
And if you guys got some extra bread, I would recommend you donate, but I won't throw it on you. You know what I mean? No thanks. And some people are gonna say that, you know what I mean? That's why it's the difference between like, hey, I can put my money where my mouth is.
I think he was trying to say that Hassan has better politics than me, even though I'm harsher on other content creators for not being. That's the thing that doesn't make sense. Like, Hassan is to my right. Do you think Shoykot and Steyer are like more to the left? And I don't say that, by the way, it doesn't even matter. I don't care. We're 99% aligned on our tactics and strategy. But like, what are you trying to say? He's more to the right than me. Again, it doesn't matter. It's minuscule. But who gives a shit? Like, what are you even trying to say?
But I don't need to put your money there. I don't need to enter a fucking debate.
Moralizing philanthropy, and it's one of the few organizations that actually provides medical care for children inside of Gaza right now. No, dude, he's about to launch a terrorist attack on an Israeli position. So he wants you to know that $10,000 for children who don't have anesthetic, that's moral. That's like moralizing philanthropy. But you know, posting about him not being pro-Palestine enough, that's the real shit.
About whether that's worthwhile? I can just tell you what I'm doing. Because I have a future charity thing planned. But like ultimately I decided to go with the classic No Kid Hungry because, well, one, I really like that organization. But two, I know a lot of people have mixed feelings on it.
That's the context you wanted me to see? I gotta be legitimately honest with you. If you look at that and go anything other than, hell yeah, we got Ludwig. We can now use Ludwig as advertising for our shit. Your politics are fucking broken. And there's something going on, right? Like, yeah, he's kind of being a Ludwig. He's being a fence-sittery guy. But a fence-sitter in our direction. He's leaning in our direction. What are you saying? Mike, I agree with all the takes you had on this. Been only watching for a few months, but I remember you recently said you're trying to do a bit better reacting to chatters. Seems like you might be getting a bit more fired up than necessary. Well, no, I mean, I want chatters that are stupid to like speak up so they can be removed. There is a purge going on, by the way. Like, I am purging people that are annoying. There is a philosophy in organizing called tyranny of the annoying. Okay? Like, this is something that I, honest to God, believe. It's very important. Fight the tyranny of the annoying. Rule 9. Keep your movement inclusive and welcoming by dealing with disruptive activists appropriately. Sometimes a person with too much free time can take over a group and discourage the kind of people you want to join. Even if they have good intentions, it's better to ask them to leave your groups and to keep a healthy culture where they won't stop the revolution. Do not let a few bad apples become the reason not to trust volunteers at all. AKA, if someone's super fucking annoying and they make everything annoying as fuck, I don't care if they have good politics. I want them gone. Like, this is a very important rule. This is lefty purity testing at its core, and it's the reason why the online left is a joke. They have no social awareness, no grasp on reality, and have no clue how to do real politics. These are the same people that were telling us don't support Zoran Mamdani. It'll be, you spend your time trying to, do tenant organizing alone. Ignore the mayor of the biggest city in America and a charismatic, intelligent, democratic socialist who's trying to build up DSA, right? Ignore him for your whatever tiny fucking personal project you're working on. Which, again, I'm not against those mutual aid projects. I'm not against tenant organizing. I'm not against all. In fact, I love all that. That's why I actually support Zoran, because he makes it easier. He backs you up against your landlord instead of sending the sheriff after you to evict your ass. You understand the difference? You understand the difference when the cops are going after the landlord rather than coming to your house to rip you out of it? You understand how much easier it is to have a tenant organization when the mayor is behind you and goes to your meeting and says, or knocks on the door with you while you're organizing your neighbors, and all of a sudden they say, oh my God, is that Zoran Mamdani? Yes, I would like you to join your tenant organization. Will you join? And they're like, yes, of course, Mr. Mayor, because they know who he is. And they trust him. That's why it's important. And again, that's why you guys were wrong about everything. You have to be able to do politics, guys. I'm sorry. I can't believe this got 27K likes. Like, that's actually blackpilling as fuck for me. What the fuck are you even saying? Like, what are you doing? And yeah, I know. Coworker gate, and I wouldn't go to his funeral and shit. That's fucking disgusting. I'm not a fan of Ludwig. But that specific thing, are you guys okay? Are you guys okay? Like, what are you doing? All right, let's move on to something that actually is good vibes. Like, what the fuck? The vibe, by the way, banning these guys is good because they're gonna make the vibes less shit going forward. I'm being one guide, but it's necessary. Again, it's good. No, Mike, I need serious help. I'm trying, man.
It was a big week for
so Ta-Nehisi Coates, who I used to argue with when he had a blog in the Atlantic. How the times have changed. I used to argue with Ta-Nehisi Coates on his blog comments. He had a blog on the Atlantic, and how the tides have turned. Now he's got his eyes opened. Gaza changed a lot of people. Yes, it did. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is something to remember, right? I think a lot of people on the left, raise your hand if you got on the left after Bernie. Raise your hand if you became part of the left after Bernie or after AOC or after Zoran. I want everybody to look at the chat. I saw one nope. And this is literally one of the oldest chats. I have a lot more like millennials and Gen Xers here because I'm older and my takes are a little bit, and my energy is more palatable to older millennials than it is to Gen Z. So we have all these unks who would have been old enough to be left before Bernie, and yet they weren't. I think most people didn't realize that what Bernie was saying was something that could actually be accomplished, and I thank Bernie for this. The point that I'm trying to make is that if you grew up after Bernie, there's BB and AB, before Bernie and after Bernie in American politics. If you got into politics after Bernie Sanders' 2016 presidential campaign, you entered a world that was unique in American history. We had never before had a legitimate socialist candidate for president who got as close as Bernie Sanders. You've entered a period of politics that is unlike any other period of American politics. So if you kind of walk into politics and you see the left and you vibe with it and you line up with it, and you say to yourself, oh, everyone is left. Why? You know, they've been talking about this stuff forever. They haven't gotten any of it done. It must mean that electoral politics is pointless. You're fucking delusional. And you have no sense of time or scale or history. Bernie Sanders started the Democratic Socialist movement in America in 2016, basically. And here it is only 10 years later. And we're starting to surge to take over one of the major parties. You know how long it took for the trade union movement to like succeed in like a serious way? 60 fucking years. Like that is like we are talking about 10 years. It stalled because why? Why did the trade union movement stall? The answer is federal law. The Taft-Hartley Act of 1947. That's why the trade union movement stalled in this country. Red Scare and state power. The Labor Management Relations Act, better known as the Taft-Hartley Act, is a United States federal law that restricts the activities and power of labor unions. The Taft-Hartley Act was introduced in the aftermath of a major strike wave in 1945 and 1946. Though the law was enacted by the Republican-controlled Congress, the law received significant support from congressional Democrats, many of whom joined with their Republican colleagues in voting to override Truman's veto. The Taft-Hartley Act amended the 1935 National Labor Relations Act, adding new restrictions on union actions and designated new union-specific unfair labor practices. Among the practices prohibited by Taft-Hartley are jurisdictional strikes, wildcat strikes, solidarity or political strikes, secondary boycotts, secondary and mass picketing, closed shops, monetary donations by unions to federal political campaigns. The amendments also allowed states the right to enact right-to-work laws banning union shops. Enacted during the early stages of the Cold War, the law required union officers to sign non-communist affidavits with the government. So you want to talk about, you know, you need to know your fucking history, right? Like, state power is why our unions, and then you can literally see it. You can literally see it. Unionization, right? There we go. I can type. Here it is. This is so funny. David Sirota took this from me, but it's okay. Share of income going to the top 10% union membership. Do you see union membership skyrocketing? And then you see the red line, the peak. What's that peak? Go down, 1948. So you can literally see how union power, now it held on for a bit. That's why everybody loves the 50s, right? Because the union power was so strong, they managed to maintain even with all those restrictions. But then there was the slow strangulation. This is why state power is important. By the way, you see this point down here? This is when FDR got into power. See this like point right here? This is FDR got sworn into office. In fact, I think I even did a chart of this on my Twitter. If somebody could dig it up. I put like FDR sworn in, FDR dies. Quest given. And like this shit, like this stuff, overridden by the House and the Senate. Because Truman was a weak, pathetic fucking loser. Union leaders vigorously campaigned for Truman in the 1948 election based on a never-fulfilled promise to repeal Taft-Hartley. Truman won, but a union-backed effort in Ohio to defeat Taft in 1950 failed in what one author described as a shattering demonstration of labor's political weaknesses. Like, this is the reality. Oh, here we go. You can see that, like, union membership literally peaks with FDR's death. And, like, again, this is not great man theory. This is policy. FDR had a different way of approaching policy toward unions that was much more pro-union. Truman got in, and he was fucking owned, or he supported it secretly. Also, you could see I posted this in June 12th, 2019. June 12th, 2019. Let's go back over to that Jacobin article. That was posted. When was this posted? September 6th, 2021. Anyway, I posted this image in like 2014. You stole it from me. I'm sure I did. Well, I'm sure I did. So long story short, this stuff matters. So let's go watch some of this other stuff. Anyway, I hope, by the way, guys, I hope you understand that, like, with my Ludwig's thing, it's not that I like Ludwig. In fact, I'm not a fan of Ludwig. In fact, I really despise what he said about Hassan, and I think that was sociopathic shit. And I think his politics suck. But at the same time, how we treat people that are like coming in our direction, stop acting like being part of our movement is some sort of like shining sign of your moral superiority or whatever. Like, we need to get the war ended for Palestinians, not for our own morality, but for their lives. So if somebody starts coming in our direction, it's our responsibility to drag them over, not push them away. I don't give a fuck. Like, what are we doing? And it's not about philanthropy. It's not about the donations washing your reputation. It's about the propagandistic effects. I mean, if you really hated Ludwig, the right thing to do would have been to trumpet that from the high heavens. For everybody pro-Palestine to be like, did you see Ludwig is pro-Palestine? He gave 10K to Palestinians. And like force him into a bear hug. That would be the best way to go after Ludwig and force him to make, you know, take a side. Is by bear hugging him. Because I don't know if you know this, we're the insurgent side. We're not the side that has everybody's support. We're the side that's being suppressed. We're the side for which if you support it, damages your career. It damaged the career of Susan Sarandon, for fuck's sake. A Hollywood legend. So like, what are you guys fucking saying?
City Mayor Zohran Mamdani and the Progressive Movement. 3 candidates he endorsed, 2 of them Democratic Socialists, won their Democratic primaries. Avelia Chevalier, Brad Lander, and Claire Valdez all cruised to victory over running campaigns that sharply criticized Israel's war in Gaza. Their victories underscore how the politics around Gaza have shifted inside parts of the Democratic Party since the 2024 election, including whether former Vice President Kamala Harris paid a political price for refusing to break with President Joe Biden over U.S. support.
I don't know. I think there was this, like, there was some other fight that happened after the donation with people trying to like call, you know, and I just disagree with it. I just disagree. I think that that's not like, if I hear somebody gave 10K to, you know, say somebody out of nowhere said, yeah, I gave 2,500 to Francesca Hong. I'm not really big into politics, but I saw her on Mike's stream and I really liked her, so I gave her 2,500. Can you imagine if I went after them and said, finally, what took you so long? You see how I mean? You see what I mean? Like, that would be fucking stupid, right? Like, what are we doing? Mike, I'm so happy Twitch recommended you to me one year ago. Your stream in this community paired with Hassan's has legitimately solidified my identity as socialist. More than anything, I appreciate your endless education. I see your channel as political historical education. Thank you so much for what you do. Well, I appreciate you, brother. Do you think the DSA should put more focus on Justin Pearson and Hartzell Gray's races in R+10 so they can send an earthquake shock to the establishment to dismantle their only win in Deep Blue Districts narrative, or is it too risky? Here's my general feeling. We need to have more information. We need to have more information. I need more data, right? Like, obviously I'm supporting them both, but I need more data. I need the ability to understand what's going on the ground. You know what I mean? I need to understand how their volunteers are looking. I need to understand how their organizations are going. I need to know how many doors they've knocked, how many phones they've called. You know what I mean? I need to know their win number and how many positive IDs they have towards it. Like, in order for me to be like, yes, no, we should go all in on this, I need to know more information. I don't like someone just because a rich guy gave money to a good cause. They're both multimillionaires. Neither of their donations are anything to them. Oh yeah, of course, I agree with you. I agree with you. But the point is that it's not a reason to attack someone. You know what I mean? Like, it's actually the opposite. It's called, you know, propaganda for our side. How do you disagree with this? Are you just like locked in because you felt a certain way for a long time and now you didn't really think about it deeply? And now you're locked in because you don't want to be embarrassed? Like, what are we doing here? Let's keep going.
For Israel's war in Gaza. It is an argument our next guest says Democrats can no longer ignore. In his latest piece for Vanity Fair,
like, they refuse to finesse any situation to your advantage. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, there is this strain on the left, and I think it's unironically CIA shit. And everybody who acts like this, I think, is a federal agent because it's so inhuman. But there is this, like, way of being on the left. Listen, I'm a disagreeable, high conflict person, right? Like, that's true about me. I try to work on it because it's a flaw. Okay, I need to learn to like let things go and be a little bit, you know, have a longer leash, a longer fuse. It's a flaw. However, I don't want to make my fuse too long. I don't want to be naive, but there's a balance, right? But for some people, they like the feeling of yelling at someone and being like, I had the right opinion first, and you're changing your mind to my opinion, and I want you to feel bad about it. What is the point of that? I don't get it. Bro, you've just been around to see the absolute wreckage that the right has caused over the past 40 years. Like, unironically, it is bad that the left is so hard to join. That's why that's why I'm a DSA guy. The one thing DSA gets right is they are happy you're there. When you join DSA, everybody's smiling and happy to see you. Other left-wing organizations act like you're a fucking, they have to, you know, give you a proctology exam before you can join in. I don't agree with that.
Award-winning author and journalist Ta-Nehisi Coates writes, quote, for reasons moral, pragmatic, and perhaps
Am I going to the DSA LA convention? Yes.
Mostly ancestral, the next black presidency will have to think bigger. A party that was deeply identified with destroying apartheid within its borders attempted to win by ignoring apartheid abroad. It did not work. I spoke with Ta-Nehisi Coates earlier. Here's what he said. Joining me now is award-winning author and journalist Ta-Nehisi Coates. He's currently a senior staff writer at Vanity Fair. He's also the author of the best-selling book, The Message. It's great to have you back on the show. When you see the results from this week's race, specifically here in New York, from candidates who called Israel's actions a genocide, do you see that as a potential turning point for the party? And your piece talks about how the DNC infamously refused to feature a Palestinian speaker in 2024. So I'm wondering how you reflect on that with what has happened this week and the through line between that moment and where we are today.
I see it as a product of American individualism. Many of us are more concerned with our own posture and position within a movement than putting the movement front and center above all else. Kill your ego, chat. It ain't about you. I mean, here's the thing. Like, it's also poor leadership. Even if it's about your ego, you're bad at managing your own ego. Like, think a couple layers deep. If you want to be a leader, you have to lead someone, which means you need people to join the organization. Like, Jesus Christ, you're even bad at your own ego shit. It's like, what is this? It's crazy how we're still debating a well-documented genocide is still a genocide. We're not, though, Kano. Nobody is confused about it, that it's a genocide or not. I want you, everybody, I want to slow everything down for you, and I'm going to explain it to you straight up. Nobody thinks it's not a genocide. I'll say that again. Nobody thinks it's not a genocide. The people who are saying it's not a genocide, they support the genocide. Everybody knows what it is. Nobody's confused. Now, what you're really saying is, why aren't we doing anything about it? And the answer is because in American politics, elections happen every 2 years. So even though it's been 19, 20 months since everybody's kind of come to the conclusion that it is a genocide, this is going to be the first opportunity since 2024 to throw out people who are in favor of it. This right now is our first opportunity to make people pay for being pro-genocide. I know it's been going on for years, and it sucks that it's taken this long, but that's how our system works. The only way for us to finally get consequences for those politicians who have supported this genocide from the beginning is now. And that's why the people, saying, oh, it's pointless and oh, give up. That's why they're so problematic, because we had not had a chance. We didn't have a primary in 2024. I don't know if you guys noticed. There was no primary. They handed the nomination to Kamala Harris. We didn't have a chance to vote. This is our first time with the ability to speak up in our electoral system. And what are you seeing? We're fucking winning. And when we lose, it's because we didn't do enough. There are multiple races that we could have won, that we were within a couple points. Kat Abu Ghazaleh, we could have won that. There's a couple other races that we could have pulled off. What's the other one that was down in the south? Fuck, what's her name? Yeah, often. Exactly. Nydia. Did Mike give predictions? I actually think she's going to win by like greater than double digits. And I think Gonzalez is going to be close. That's my prediction. I'm going with the I think they're underestimating her turnout. And the reason why is because the Hassan effect on GOTV is absolutely nuclear. The thing about primaries is that they're low turnout. So if you have an absolutely maxed out nuclear GOTV program, you're going to win if it's anywhere near close. Because a good GOTV program could push the numbers by about 7 points. So I say I take, what is she polling at? She's up 5, right, in the polls? Add 7, so I think she wins by 12. That's my prediction. We'll see if I'm wrong. But get the fuck out there. It's all premised on you guys working your ass off.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be a turning.
Incorrect. This is the first phase of dishing out punishment for supporting genocide, not just the first chance. Saying this so the ruling class and the lazy doesn't get confused about them thinking we're going to let support for the genocide go unpunished outside of the electoral race. Oh, no, 100%. I'm just saying, like, I think what makes me different than a lot of other political commentators is that I read history and I comprehend chronological time. And I don't say that, like, that seems really easy, and it is easy for me. And I'm sure it's easy for you. But like when I look at, for example, the Vietnam War lasted over 10 years. The resistant, wow, so smart. No, I mean, that's what I mean. All of you could do it too. It's not genius. It's just, 1 second. What was I saying? Oh, so like the process of building that up, the same thing with the civil rights movement. Like it took like years and years and years and years and years. And so when I see people that are like, actually, I'm not going to try to contest state power, and I'm just going to like do the protest. Like the protest worked. I want you guys to understand. The encampments worked. The protests worked. The posting worked in the sense of what it's actually able to do, which is change people's minds. We've changed their minds. Now is the hard part. We take the mind change and we convert it into actual political outcomes. And that's what you're getting the chance to see right now.
Point. Because, I mean, as you probably know, there was plenty of resistance put up from the infrastructure of the party at the very least. But I think it was Mayor Mamdani who said, what is a party if not its voters? And it's pretty clear where the voters are. And the voters had a turning point a long time ago. You know, what that says about the donor class, what that says about the actual architecture of the party, what that says about former DNC chairs and wise men. You know, who can tell? I will point out, Eamon, that it has never been the case that when you have major shifts in the party that it has been peaceful. In 1948, when the Democratic Party decided to add a civil rights plank to its agenda, it essentially destroyed the party for the next 20 years, and a new party came out of that. And so it is not particularly out of character, you know, that this would be a very, very fractious dispute.
So I think the question that many probably have right now is that what the Democratic Party is going through? Is it a reckoning in this moment around this single issue that is perhaps going to fracture the party, maybe weakening it ahead of a very important midterm or a very important presidential cycle in 2028? And I'm wondering if you got any insight into whether or not that might happen, or if the party is willing to move in that direction.
I think it's going to be extremely, extremely hard for somebody to get through the 2028 Democratic primary and have even the same position that Kamala Harris had before, which was kind of, how can I, talk about this the least? I think that's going to be really hard. I think that's going to be really hard. I mean, New York City is not just, abnormal because of its size and because of its politics. I mean, it has also, the largest population of Jewish voters in the country. Brad Lander, he's a Jewish congressman in a district with, a number of Jewish voters, and that this resistance would begin there. I just think it's a statement. In fact, you'd expect it to be the other way. But it's not.
One of the things that you wrote about in your current piece for Vanity Fair was effectively the missed opportunity for the Democratic Party, and specifically the Kamala Harris campaign during the DNC, to try to follow in the footsteps of some of the organizers and, more importantly, some of the black women.
Question: my friend is running for state house at South Carolina. We're in a slightly bluish area. She's torn about running as DSA or not. Here's my general feeling. You have to be a known entity in DSA before you run for office if you want a reasonable chance of having their support, right? You have to at least done something with them in your local area in order for people to consider you as an actual opportunity. Now, that being said, if your DSA doesn't exist, use your campaign as a way of helping organize it. Because I'm sure there's a bunch of DSA people in South Carolina with nothing to do. And if you're building a DSA chapter and you make your campaign the main thing they're doing, you can do two things: build DSA up and have a compelling argument for a compelling task for people to complete. It's a win-win. I don't have a problem with that. Like, I can tell you, one of the biggest DSAs in Pennsylvania, the Lehigh Valley DSA, that was built around the congressional campaign built around a campaign for Congress. And then it kept going, right? Like, that is the way things go. You know, like, there were multiple people that have been like working with like DSA type people and building up this like volunteer network, this institutional network. Do I think a DSA candidate could win in New York 11? I think a DSA candidate could win in every single district that's held by a Democrat today. I'll say that again. I think a DSA candidate could win in every single district that's currently held by a Democrat today. I don't think any of our policies are unpopular in a way that you would lose any district that's plausibly Democratic. The only question is the scare word of socialism. And maybe in places in Florida that wouldn't work. That might be the only exception, but that's something that I'd be willing to see tested. AIPAC's line opposing any conditions on military aid to Israel isn't just a loser in Florida's 25th Democratic primary. It's a loser with the overwhelming 2/3 majority of general election voters. Our campaign leads Republicans by 9 and 12 in the general. 43% of Democratic primary voters and 52% of general election voters say a candidate's position on Israel will be most important or very important in their vote for Congress. 86% want either conditions tied to international law and human rights standards or an end to military aid altogether. He's a numbers guy.
Who have in so many ways shaped and moved the party in very specific times. You talk about how the patron saint of the DNC was Fannie Lou Hamer and the legacy that she and the shadow that she cast over the DNC, and how
after the gerrymander, it's winnable for Hartzell. Yeah, both. Just so you guys know, both Hartzell and Oliver could win in a wave year. Just so you guys know, like, both of them could win. If this election is a wave, they could win. People win in like, districts that used to be like R+10. Well, that was R+10 in a year Trump won with the Democratic, a Democratic enthusiasm at a record low. So if they're drawing lines off of 2024, that's a mistake. It could easily flip 10-point swings. Like, if 5% of people switch from Republican to Democrat, that's the entire +10, because a percentage of a voter that flips is worth 2 new voters. So like, R+10 is winnable. It is absolutely winnable under the right condition. Followed because of Hong in an hour. Let's go.
The convention fell short of that. Can you elaborate on that and why you felt that was an important connection to make in that moment?
Yeah, I think the most disappointing aspect of the DNC is not, simply that in 2024 they didn't allow a Palestinian American speaker or an Arab American speaker to address the larger convention. The most disappointing thing is that they fell short of their own declared standards. Nobody forced them to decide to commemorate Fannie Lou Hamer, and the fact that this was, the 60th year of her, attempt, or 60th anniversary of her attempt to get an integrated delegation from Mississippi to appear at the convention. They decided to do that. And so I guess I just felt like I had a responsibility.
How do conditions change after a wave in 2026? Does the enthusiasm decay or ramp up? Oh, in America, it's always a referendum on the president. In America, it's always a referendum on the president. And when your side holds power, you tend to have a little bit less anger. Ask Francesca why she's comfortable hiring and defending Zionists and gaslighting local Palestinians who asked about an anti-Palestinian behavior she needs to take responsibility for, especially once the government state in a country funding the genocide. I'm going to go ahead and say that your brand new account 3 hours ago is what I would like to call, you've been banned by me already and you sound like a dipshit. That's I don't allow people to make new accounts to spread bullshit. Embarrassing. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and change that rule.
As somebody who is, rooted in that same tradition, and as, a number of, though not all, of the Black women who I talked to who are also rooted in that same tradition, to ask, are you actually honoring who Fannie Lou Hamer was? Are you honoring the fact that she was not just somebody who was arguing for Black representation, but in fact was one of the first and earliest civil rights figures to oppose the Vietnam War? Are you honoring Coretta Scott King, who you hold up as a hero, and in fact was 3 years before Martin Luther King in saying, why is it that Lyndon B. Johnson has so much sympathy for Black kids in Alabama and so little sympathy for Vietnamese kids half a world the way. Are we actually honoring that? And I think it's really important to say that and bring that forward.
As you are very well aware, there's now a divide that is growing a little bit within the Democratic Party between progressives and others. And a lot of that centers around the debate over Israel and American foreign policy towards Israel. Let me play for you what Democratic strategist James Carville had to say and get your thoughts to it about the candidates here in New York City. Take a listen.
I don't think that the congressional Democrats should seat her as a member of the Democratic Party. You can't kick her out of Congress. She was voted, but she doesn't have to be in a Democratic caucus. I don't have anything in common with Ms. Chevalier, and I really don't want to be in the same party she's in.
Your reaction to that, Ta-Nehisi?
Wow. You do this to me every time I come on an interview. Like something that leaves me completely speechless. Because look, the problem with that is, like, look, whatever you think of future Congresswoman Chevalier, she represents actual voters. Okay, she represents actual voters. And what James Carville is saying is that those voters should be disenfranchised, that he is so disgusted with whatever opinion she has that those voters should be disenfranchised. And I don't get it, man. I don't like, you know, that is a district filled with black and brown people. They made their choice. And he just doesn't respect it. You know what I mean? Which to me says, you know, not so much, you know, it's not so much a statement on Palestinians. It's not so much a statement on Israelis. It's not so much a statement on, you know, anything that future Congresswoman Chevalier has said. It's a statement on how he feels about black and brown people. And the fact that they are useful to him when they vote the way that he agrees with. When they don't, kick them out the party. They don't deserve representation. I'm trying not to say Jimmy for life. It's not good. It's not good, Eamon. It's not good.
It's not good. It's not good for democracy.
Let
me, if I can, maybe close out by asking you to kind of give us a gut check whether this is more than just a vibe check, right? I think there would be some critics who will say, and correct me if I'm wrong.
I want to stop this right here because I want you to understand something. James Carville is asking for, is telling Democrats to play constitutional hardball with Darya in a heavily gerrymandered House where it's very likely that the House will be determined by less than 10 net votes either way. He's saying to deny Darya a position in the caucus, thereby making the Democrats' ability to gain the majority that much weaker. And the reason why, because she doesn't like Israel, right? Now, right after Donald Trump was sworn in, so think about that energy, how hard he wants the Democratic Party to fight Darya, how hard he wants the Democratic Party to fight socialists in the party, which again, won a majority, right? She won a majority or a plurality of the Democratic primary voters. She has the electoral legitimacy. Now, I want to remind you what he said right after Donald Trump wins. Right after the Republicans under MAGA sweep to power. This is what he was saying that Democrats should do. What the fuck was that?
Party for the moment do nothing. Quote, with no clear leader to voice our opposition and no control in any branch of government, he writes, it's time for Democrats to embark on the most daring political maneuver in the history of our party. Roll over and play dead. Allow the Republicans to crumble beneath their own weight and make the American people miss us. The legendary Democratic strategist joins us now. So, James, it seems like a pretty big gamble you're suggesting, just roll over and play dead. Doesn't that risk sending the signal that Democrats have no idea what to do and are just giving up?
Well, it would be a risky strategy if there wasn't such a thing as a calendar. So we know on March 14th that...
So basically... Oh my God, dude. Honest to God, Facebook may be the worst fucking most worthless piece of shit, disgusting website that's ever been made. I'm sorry, this is the only place I could find this video. Anyway, so when the Democrats, he's telling everybody to roll over and play dead. Don't fight back. Let the Republicans pass everything they want. And then people will be so disgusted with what happens. Then they'll miss us. That's why he hates Daria Lisa. That's why he hates Mamdani. That's why he hates DSA, because they're not saying, hey, we're better than the Republicans. They're saying, hey, look at all the good things we're going to do. Child care, free buses, freezing the rent, ending the genocide in Gaza, standing up against Israel, standing up against the billionaires, standing up for working class people. He doesn't want you to see the power of a good example. So he would rather go after Daria Lisa and surrender to Trump. Like, look at how pathetic of a fucking loser he is. That is the reality of what the Democratic Party represents today.
Here, not that the central thesis of why Kamala Harris lost the campaign was because about Gaza, but Gaza was certainly a factor in the reason why she lost. What would you say to critics who say it was actually about inflation, it was about economics, it was about a lot of other things? Gaza was not something that pollsters came up with, pundits thought was an issue, and it might not be an issue going forward, that the party's fixation on this right now, as some Democrats are warning, is misguided.
Yeah, I can't really tell you that that's why she lost. I don't have, that data. I don't have those sorts of numbers. But I mean,
by the way, the answer is that is why she lost, and it's been studied extensively, and it's not confusing. I mean, you could just go and look at the precincts in Michigan. There were precincts in Michigan that swung 117% toward Trump. I'll say that again. There were precincts that swung 117% toward Trump. They were in Michigan, a swing state. And I mean, like, look at some of these precincts. There it is. I found it. 117 more Republican. These 88% more Republican. Like, look at this. In this precinct in 2020, 88% of the people voted for Biden and Harris and 11% to Trump. In 2024, 52% Trump, 13% Harris. Why? Because they were desperate to stop the genocide. Now, obviously, Donald Trump is the exact same, if not worse. But this is the effect. This is Dearborn, by the way. Look at Dearborn. Look at how much more 103% more Republican, 94% more Republican, 96% more Republican. Here's the data. There's the data. Hamtramck is another Muslim majority area, 70% more Republican. These are people that wanted to vote for Kamala Harris. They wanted to vote for the Democratic Party, but they were so disgusted at how they were humiliated and ignored and treated as less than human and not given a voice at the convention and told that she was going to have the most lethal military. There's the data. It's right there in front of you. She lost because of her position on the Gaza genocide. It drove down the turnout of young people. It drove down the turnout of people of color. Kamala Harris actually did slightly better with college-educated white people. I think she did 1 percentage point better with college-educated white people compared to Joe Biden. Did you know that? She lost because young people didn't show up. She lost because people of color didn't show up. Data's right there. You don't have to pretend to not know. Open your fucking eyes. Do your basic research. And by the way, this is important to know. This is important to know so that, like, and by the way, I was saying that at the time, right? I was saying that in the run up to the election. I was saying that in the analysis right after the election. And now that we have all the data that has proven to be correct, it's there. I mean, there were 34 polls that show a ceasefire and weapons embargo would help Kamala Harris win. 34 aggregated polls showing that had she had a different position on Gaza, it would have made her more likely to win. And it's so, what are we learning here? The moral position is the electable position. The bold position is the electable position. It was the cowardliness. It was the brazenness of selling out to the right, to Israel, that made her lose her own base. There's an old organizer saying, chat, that you could predict an election based on this saying: Democrats fall in love, Republicans fall in line. If you have a candidate for the Democratic Party that requires people be whipped to fall in line, they will lose. Your John Kerrys, your Hillary Clintons, your Kamala Harrises. They will fucking lose. The only exception I can think of in my lifetime is literally Joe Biden. And that was because of COVID. And there was enough antipathy to Trump for him to barely pull it out. And he did so by bending the knee to the left, by the way. He did a unity commission chaired by AOC to make sure that a bunch of progressive promises were made. And Ron Klain, his first secretary, his first chief of staff, spent his time kissing progressive ass. But ultimately, with October 7th, he split from the left, spit in our faces, and leaned into Zionist extremism. And that was the result. 94%, 96% more Trump, 87% more Trump, 96%. I mean, these numbers are unprecedented. I have never seen, like, maybe you're not getting it, but to show a district that was 117% more Trump, like, these numbers are impossible to see. Like, this has never happened before. Do you understand? Swings like these do not exist. The average swing is more like 10 or 20 or something like that. The chart only goes up to R plus 20. These are 5 times greater than the end of the scale.
To me, look, I know the headline was what the headline was, but I was less interested in that than asking the question of whether, in fact, someone who would not have been in that place if it was not for the Black freedom struggle, and I think this is actually not just true of Kamala Harris anymore, but in true of the Democratic Party itself, that it owes its very present existence to the Black freedom struggle. Is it actually honoring the core morality and principles of that struggle? And are we settling for an interpretation that says human rights, civil rights for certain people, and screw everybody else? Or was this supposed to be about something bigger? Was it, did human actually mean human? And my argument is, in the words of Fannie Lou Hamer, in the words of Coretta Scott King, in the words of W.E.B. Du Bois, in the words of Martin Luther King, it was always supposed to be bigger. If this is just interest group politics, I mean, I don't know what that is. Then I don't have a place in that party, and I don't have a place in that coalition myself.
All right, Ta-Nehisi Coates, it's great to see you as always. Really appreciate your time today.
Thanks so much, Eamon. Stop stunning me like that.
Democrats fell in love with Bill Clinton? Yes. Yes, they did. Oh my God, you don't even want to know. 1992, they had him on they had him playing saxophone, and like, it was all over SNL. He was on what is it, Arsenio Hall? Do you guys even know what that is? It was an old late night talk show. People were saying he would be the first Black president. Like, it was very, 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 very cringe. I mean, this is a classic, right?
Now I want to go way back to 1992, the year Nirvana's Nevermind went #1 on the U.S. Billboard 200 charts. Sinead O'Connor stirred up controversy by ripping a picture of the Pope on Saturday Night Live. You remember that? And Bill Clinton defeated George Bush in the presidential election.
She ripped up a picture of the Pope because of the child sex abuse cover-up that was going on, way ahead of her time.
But before all that happened, this happened on my show.
Now, I want you to remind yourself, chat, that was after 12 years of Republican presidents, 2 terms of Reagan and a term of Bush. So anytime there was a chance that somebody who was left of, Attila the Hun, everybody was like, oh, please, God. And of course, he ran as this kind of like new generation of Democrat who had learned the lessons of the Reagan era, right? The neoliberal, he was like, he was like the original Fetterman. The original Fetterman. Like, that's the best way to understand him. He kind of was like a corporate whore, but he was like eating McDonald's and shit. Like, this is how people, you know what I mean?
All right, that's a quarter pounder with cheese, 2 fries, and a Coke.
So you understand. Why were they saying this shit? Well, because he was being sued for sexual harassment. I'm giving you guys a fucking history lesson for you boomers. For you non-boomers, excuse me. Which brings us in to what's going on today, which is Francesca Hong. Should be on her way soon, chat. Francesca Hong, running for governor of Wisconsin, is coming to join me in studio. I really should have prepared more, huh? No suit. I'm Hong right now. I'm wearing the merch of the band. I'm honged up. Do I have bespoke gifts and drinks? Oh, definitely. Oh, definitely, chat. Oh, God. By the way, chat, I should do the overlay real quick. All right, that's a good point, chat. Thank you for bringing that up. I think we're gonna do Big Mike. And let me go ahead and make sure that we add Chiron 1 is me. So we should stick me over here. And then, hold on. We need to add image file. Where is this? Add source. And it should be Chiron 2. Add source. Not Claire, but it should be. We should have Hong here. Let's see. Ran. Oh, we definitely have this Chiron. It's just named something stupid. Shit. Is this right, chat? Yeah. Yes. Chiron enabled. Look at that. Remember when Fox News blocked your Chiron when you only had one at the bottom? Oh shit. Good point. Such a good point. All right, hold on. Let me download something. You're all here. You're all here. Should I put you guys on here somewhere? Like over here? Should I make you a little bit smaller? Or no? You're like, no, we should be on the screen. We can't trust us. Okay. Good point. Hold on. I think I have another. Let me see here. Image. What's this image? That's not what I want. That one's not good. Oh, hold on. Let me add one more. Add source. No, that's not it. Central. No, that's not it. That's Hartzell Gray. That's Ethan. Okay, we might have to add this source. That's Freda. But we're gonna replace that. We're gonna replace Freda. Punished Freda. What's this one? Nathan Grayson. That's not it. Oh no. Maybe it's in my emote folder. There it is. Aha! Beautiful. Look at that. We need a picture of all of chat so you can put us up in the background. Oh yeah. 15% smaller. Yes. How about that? There you go. That should be good. Maybe a little bit smaller. There you go. Okay. Now we're ready. Now we have everything. So I need to sit in this chair. I need to sit in this chair, and she needs to sit in that chair. Okay. Oh, you can make the. Oh, that's a good point. I need to make it a little bit. The opacity. Let's add filter. Filter type. What would it be in? Opacity. Where would it be? I don't see it in the filters. Is it in the filters? Transparency? I don't see it. Color key? There you go. Look at that. What do we say? 79%? Let's do 80. Look at that. How's that? No, 50? 67%? Oh, okay. We could do that. It's so funny how people... I will never in a million years understand the brain of the chatter. 6'7". That's 6'7". Okay. Beautiful. Now we're back. Can you spam that? Can you mods ban the spammer with fake accusations? I thought we already did. Carl Lamar Dixon is the only source for any of this. He's trying to run a write-in campaign. Good luck, buddy. Only I could win write-in campaigns. It's this guy. I feel like this guy has been... I sat in the room and she took 6 months for her to take action. She has yet to take accountability or make a statement. Fred called police and pro-Palestine protester in 2023 and demanded police investigate them for a hate crime. There's no accountability for that either. I've personally heard the call audio and could read the log. The accusations aren't fake. Okay, I want you to understand something, chat, and I'm going to be completely honest with you. If you think that Ryan Clancy, who personally went to Iraq to serve as a human shield to try to prevent the Iraq invasion, is endorsing someone who's not 100% with it, you're a fucking dipshit. And just because someone claims to be pro-Palestinian doesn't mean they can't be psychotic in person. Like, you guys are like, I don't know what else to say. Like, you need to like have less bad empanada in your brain where you think you could try to identify some sort of like scandal and that means they're actually secretly bad. Are you stupid? I think that's actually the case. And I'm addressing this so you can get whatever's going on with you treated. Unironically, you need help. Okay. We have been dealing with this guy for a while in the campaign. They are a wrecker. Oh, okay. Yeah. Dare to say governor of Wisconsin will be the biggest win for the left so far? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You're like, somebody got called, you know, like, and it is possible for someone to be pro-Palestinian and also commit crimes against people that are also pro-Palestinian. This is the guy they are talking about.
If I do get arrested, I'll get out and I'll try to find some more signs.
So you're not concerned about being
Not concerned at all.
He's stealing political campaign signs and posting videos about it on social media. Even though it's illegal, the Milwaukee man says that he's not going to stop doing it. 12 News' TJ Dysart is...
This is the guy you're trying to promote. This is your bad empanada candidate. This is interesting. I'm going to do this now because we're not going to ask Francesca about this. You guys are you're insane. This guy's obviously unhinged and mentally unwell.
Joining us live near Humboldt and Burleigh in the River West neighborhood. TJ, this man also says that he's running for governor as an independent.
Yeah, that's right, Deanna. And the words he used throughout the entirety of our interview today is that he's holding the signs hostage, not stealing them. Take a look. These are the two signs he's after. These are two that he hasn't gotten to yet. You see Ryan Clancy there and Francesca Hong there. And despite his actions going against state law, he says it won't stop him from stealing more signs, no matter what political party they represent. So you're running for governor, but it appears you're breaking laws every day. Why should Wisconsinites trust you?
I mean, am I breaking any laws?
Yes, it's called larceny, you illiterate.
I'll have that.
Carlos Lamar Dixon
all day long
has spent this past week recording himself.
Enjoy your Ring doorbell camera.
Stealing campaign signs of Democratic gubernatorial candidate Francesca Hong.
This bull right here, though.
And 19th District Representative.
Bro, are you okay? Like, hey, fly or die, you okay? Are you mentally okay? You okay? Are you okay? Honestly, here's what I would say to you. Please get mental health care. I'm speaking to you as somebody you've watched before. You are mentally ill. And this is your wake up call. You are mentally ill. You need help. Like legitimately, you need to get help. I would check yourself in. This is not like a debate. This is like, I'm gonna give you a week off because I think there's some part of you that knows that you needed me to tell you that. Someone ban that guy for a week. But you're mentally ill.
Ryan Clancy Dixon, who says he's an...
Yeah, I hopped on here in the first 10 minutes. Mike has shaming people for having mental illness and being illiterate.
Independent write-in candidate for governor filmed this video Thursday in Milwaukee's River West neighborhood and posted it to Facebook. When was the first time you've done this? Is this new?
It is new. I think it was yesterday.
Dixon says he's not stealing the signs. Instead,
taking signs for ransom as hostage. I am anti-MAGA. I am anti-capitalism. I am anti-establishment. I am anti-Zionism. So whoever falls under those categories can feel the wrath of my political dissent.
On Thursday, Dixon insisted 12 News interview him in front of a Milwaukee police station.
Now, chat, one of the things about politics that is kind of like a basic thing is you need to be able to recognize mentally ill people. And I unironically need you guys to learn how to protect yourselves. Oh, hold on. This is actually dumb as fuck. I think I'm good. And anybody who ever mentions this guy, thank you. What was I gonna say? 1 second. One of the things you have to understand when you run a political campaign is that there are gonna be people that are unwell. Like, it's just the way it goes. And it's not shaming. It is just basic community defense. If somebody's unwell, you can't put your head in the sand. You have to confront it and be like, hey, that person needs help. Ryan Clancy, our brother, the guy who he is ripping the signs up, traveled to Iraq to protest the impending invasion. He traveled to Iraq to protest against the Iraq war. He did field work in the Palestinian territories against the occupation. He joined the Dakota Access Pipeline protest. Like, this is somebody who is a real motherfucker, okay? So if somebody unwell claims to be anti-whatever the fuck and they're attacking somebody like this, our personal friend, Ryan Clancy, the real fucking deal, member of the Wisconsin State Assembly, builder of socialism in Wisconsin, they're not okay. Which is why Francesca is here. And we have a fundraiser going. If you guys could get this up to 25,000, I will donate another 250. Is he related to Tom Clancy? I don't think so. So let me throw up some of Francesca's videos and I'll be right back. Okay?
It's so stressful to get by these days. And I know a lot about stress. To get by these days. And I know a lot about stress. I work in restaurants. I started in this kitchen 15 years ago. And you might recognize what's across the street. A lot of people in that building don't get why it's so hard to get by right now. Working hard doesn't mean you can always keep up. One wrong step can lay you out flat. This is by design. I'm State Representative Francesca Hong. I'm a service worker, community organizer, and a mom. I work for a living. Always have, still do. 5 years ago, my community sent me to the Capitol. The system is rigged. I'm running for governor to fix it. For years, we've been told that doing better isn't possible. Well, let me tell you, that's bullshit. All we need to do is fight together. We can fully fund our public schools and have universal childcare. We can guarantee paid leave and have cheaper health care. We can fix a rigged system that puts oligarchs over workers and small businesses. We can do better. Don't let anyone tell you we can't do this. We can build a Wisconsin where we share the table. I'm Francesca Hong, and I'm running for governor because I know that together we make better possible.
Did you know that the ultra-rich and mega corporations pay a lower tax rate than everyday Wisconsinites like you and me? So when we say tax the ultra-rich, we mean fairness, fiscal responsibility, funding our future, and fixing a rigged system.
That is Wisconsin State Representative and self-described Democratic Socialist Francesca Hong, who last year launched what many would consider a long-shot candidacy for Wisconsin governor. But early polls show her as one of the front-runners ahead of the Democratic Party on August 11th. Representative Hong joins us now, and I'll refer to you as Francesca. So you are a chef, a bartender, single mom. You've served as a state rep since 2020. Your platform's described as deeply progressive. You advocate for universal child care, rolling back school vouchers, raising teachers' salaries and the minimum wage, taxing corporations and high earners, just to name a few. What is it about you think your story and your message that you think is resonating with primary voters, Francesca?
Many working class people have felt left behind, and to know that there is someone who is a working class person right now fighting for these very practical policies, that's resonating with folks all across the state.
Well, as you know, Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani won the New York City mayoral race last year. In the Los Angeles mayoral race, two of the candidates, Spencer Pratt and Nithya Raman, they differ politically, but they both say that the establishment incumbent Karen Bass failed their city. Do you think this is a new brand of politics, and do you see yourself in that mold?
A brand of politics that is centering working class people, I think, is a brand of politics that we should all be fighting for. And as the state representative for a very progressive district, I've carried my message to rural, urban, and suburban areas, and it's resonating. I think that this is what folks demand and deserve from their government.
Some establishment Democrats worry the elevation of such candidates could bite them in the general. What do you say to that?
I think it's more dangerous to underestimate our voters, to appear out of touch. There is a lot of frustration with the establishment and the status quo. To not fight for transformative change, I think, would be irresponsible.
The Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel reported that Capital One sued you for nearly $30,000 in credit card debt last month. A spokesperson for your campaign told the publication it's paid. What's your response to someone who questions whether you can manage the state budget?
I wish we lived in a society that would see the fact that so many people across this country have credit card debt, as well as, instead of having a honest personal financial mistakes be a reflection of what the budget process would be for a governor like me. I think it's important that folks see themselves in their leadership and know that I'm one of them fighting for them.
So in that vein, we've seen Maine Democratic Senate candidate Graham Plattner embroiled in controversy, yet he's likely to become the nominee. Do you think in 2026 voters are thinking more about policy over the person? I mean, we just interviewed Bernie Sanders, and he said, when I think you look at politics in general, there are no saints in the U.S. Senate. He says we need allies in the Senate who have the guts to take on big money. Is that something that you agree with? The policy matters more than the person?
The policy matters more than the person because the people deserve a government that delivers for them with policies that will improve the material conditions of their lives. Public education, childcare, housing, making sure folks can access food and have opportunity to live the life that they deserve. I think this is what government should be doing. Government can and needs to be a force of good.
And so you think if somebody has, if somebody like Plattner, for example, who has apologized, we should mention, has some of these controversies in his past, it should not preclude them from running or winning or representing the people?
Look, working class folks have been fighting all of their lives, and they aren't working to be vetted by the consulting class and political elite. I think someone who makes people feel like there's someone in their government that is in their corner, that is fighting for them and not corporate interest, is something that all politicians should be thriving for.
Francesca Hong, thank you.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Chat, sorry about that. We are going to have Francesca on here in a minute. So this is amazing. Make sure you guys remember, if we hit 25,000, I'll be on the hook for another 250, 500. What do you think? We're at 23,866 right now. So if we can get to 500K, I wish. How about this? We'll do 250 if we get to 25, but if we get to 30, I'll do 1,000. How about that? How about that? All right. Well, let me just throw the big mic up. I'm going to do something weird. I'm going to throw this chair out of the room. This is the tiny little office that I have. Sorry about that. Perfect. Okay, beautiful. I think that, yes, awesome. Okay, let's see. Let's make sure that this is working. Oh my God! Chat!
What's up?
Okay, can you hear her?
Can y'all hear me?
Beautiful.
What's up, chat? Well, first, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, of course.
And I come bearing a swag bag.
Wow. Chat, if you could see this, the button says, Reagan fucked us, Paul. This is badass. Wow, thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
So before we grab the bag and we uncover the treasures within, do you mind explaining who you are to any of my chat that don't know?
Hey folks, so my name's Francesca Hong. I am a candidate for governor of Wisconsin, my home state. Currently a state legislator, chef, and bartender. Running for governor as a proud democratic socialist, working class champion, mentor, single mom, my son, and we're running on permanent affordable class power back in Wisconsin and across the country. I think folks say, as goes Wisconsin, as goes. We do this in Wisconsin, we're going to see a cascade of change in American politics.
One thing, if you can see that line, just these mics can be a little bit like a shotgunny, so you just need to speak into it, like direct your face towards it.
Okay.
That's the one thing I would suggest.
Yeah.
Okay, just so we don't get cut off. But is the audio
Be
good,
commanding.
chat? Yeah, this is the one-man show, so, you know, it sucks.
Hey.
But thank you so much for coming. I want to say that I'm so proud of your race because you really launched this campaign with the exact type of revolutionary optimism and like belief that we need in this moment. And I'm so proud of this community because we were there from the beginning and we have seen you slowly building it up. You know, you built up your campaign through blood, sweat, and tears and effort and organizing.
Yeah.
I mean, we did. Yes.
We did.
But you were the person who put your name out in front, which means you're the one that's going to get attacked. You're going to be the one that is hyper examined, and you're going to take all the slings and arrows for the rest of us. So I want to say thank you for doing that. And
it's sometimes my pleasure.
Sometimes your pleasure. Yeah. So how is the campaign going? Like since the last time you were on, how are we going? What are the polls looking like? You know, what do you think is going to happen? How is the volunteer work? Like, what are your challenges and what are your successes?
We are hustling. And the best part about this campaign are the volunteers, the growing volunteer. Say the biggest challenges have been taking on the folks who are constantly talking about elected, that the things that I've said in the past around peace, Palestine, actually saying the things that need to be said when it comes to creating change, that it will be a liability. But we've grown to over 6,000 people are signed up to volunteer, knocked over 40,000. And this is a campaign that's actually showing folks what movement politics looks like in our state, and that we're multi-generational, multi-geographic. People think that it's just going to be folks on the left who are supporting our campaign, but we've got Republicans, independents. I think it's campaigns like ours that take on what is one of the biggest challenges right now, and it's folks who are fucking disillusioned and don't want to have anything to do with politics. And we have to earn their excitement and their support. And who's helping us do that are our...
Yeah, I want to say something that is still being proven, which is like the biggest opportunity we have is turning people's cynicism into hope, right? Because when they say both parties are the same and nothing ever changes, they have been right. But we are in that moment, at least for a long time, right? But we're in that moment where people like Zohran Mamdani, winning that one office are kind of breaking through the uni party, the bipartisan status quo that we've experienced for all of my life at 42. That has been politics since I've been alive. It's been this kind of neoliberal, deregulatory, we can't do that, no we can't.
I want us to reclaim regulation.
Right,
I don't want us to be afraid of using that word, because I think that's the accountability part where now it's becoming trendier, and as it should be, to say tax the rich, take on corporate corruption and corporate profit. But what does that actually look like? We can't be afraid to say that.
Yeah, no, regulation is a great point. And we're also in an era, and just to have a fine point, so many people are coming out that no one expects, right? The turnout for Zohran, was the highest since the 60s. Yeah. The way the turnout for those congressional campaigns just a few weeks ago in New York City, that had the highest turnout for a congressional campaign in years and years and years. And it was new people, it was young people, it was independents that had registered as Democrats. So when you say we have that opportunity to change our politics, I feel like you're completely right. And that's why I joined in early, because I saw that the American people were going to see fascism. And I believe in our heart of hearts, this is a open-minded, tolerant, progressive people. They just haven't been given the means to express it. And so you are one of those people that are giving us that opportunity. And why your campaign is so important is we need to defeat the convenient lies that centrist Democrats tell. Which is the idea that progressivism only works in the deep blue cities or the deep blue districts. And your campaign in Wisconsin and other campaigns of progressives like Abdul El Sayed in Michigan, which is your neighbor, those are important in demonstrating, no, actually, progress is desired throughout this country in the red states, in the blue states, in the purple states. So that's why supporting your campaign is so important.
Well, because I think being centrist leads to, and folks deserve so much better. They need to know that they deserve to have politicians held accountable. That when we say we make better possible, it is that it's something we have to do collectively. But to let folks know first, it's something. Bernie won Wisconsin 71 out of 72.
Here, why don't we just do the mic a little bit more for
I just gotta be screaming.
Yeah.
I'm screaming.
I'm a projector. I'm sorry. I yell really loud.
Can folks hear Mike then? Better? Perfect? Okay. Thanks, chat.
Get used to these SM7Bs. They're a little bit, they're weird.
No, it's all good. I was just saying centrism and complacency, they go hand in hand. And it is deeply irresponsible right now to be incremental. And I think when we limit or restrict, how much change is possible, I think it's insulting to tell voters when change can happen. They should be a part of making change happen, which is why movement politics is so important. And a huge part of our strategy and how we're going to win is expanding that electorate. Making sure that folks who may have sat out in 2024 come out to early vote or vote on August 11th in Wisconsin. The folks who, don't normally turn out for a primary. The people who don't see a gubernatorial candidate show up in their community because it's rural, because they're more faith-based, what have you. It's important that we put in the hustle now, and that's one of the things that Mayor Mamdani did really well that we're adopting, is to make sure that we're going in spaces where people are already gathering, having fun, being in community, and how can we make sure that we're showing ways that we want to build trust and relationships with them? Because I think for so long it's been this politicians feeling really entitled to folks should feel privileged that they're in the same space. And I think actually it's going into these spaces with humility and knowing that there's work in earning people's votes, and you have to earn trust and build relationships first.
One of the things that's really interesting is that, and I hate to keep bringing up Zoran so much, but he's like someone that I think that you can use to help explain what you're trying to do. And what are the, let me just grab this real quick. What are the things he says, what are the things he talks about, which is something that I've been famous for a long time, which is sewer socialism. And that's you.
Born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
So exactly, when people say this can't happen in a purple state, sewer socialism that Zoran Mamdani is using for his plans is from Wisconsin.
So
that is from Milwaukee.
Yep. Sewer socialism was born in Milwaukee. Social security was born in Wisconsin. Environmentalism, Gaylord Nelson. Unemployment insurance, kindergarten. Wisconsin has deep, deep progressive roots, and we have to make it the state where we're a laboratory for democracy, because we've been a fucking petri dish for conservative ideals and policies after the gerrymandering and Republican authoritarianism that has been our state legislature for over 15 years. And so I think this is an opportunity for us to take back and reclaim our progressive history and build something better and new.
Yeah, and I feel like one of the things that the right is going to try to do to you guys is try to otherize your ideas.
Sure.
Right? So when you have that resource of Wisconsin's own history to say, actually, it's your Reaganite shit, it's your neoliberalism, that's from Austria, right? Your shit is from Austria. Sewer socialism is from Wisconsin.
Yeah.
You're the outsider. We're bringing us back to our roots, where we in the Midwest, it gets cold up here.
Yeah.
You have to have each other's backs.
Yeah.
You know, like that is the nature of our community, is care for each other. You're the outsider, you're the stranger, and we are trying to bring us back to our roots.
Yeah.
And you know, that's why they're getting so much money from DC. That's why they're getting so much money from Wall Street, because that's not what Wisconsin's about, right? Wisconsin is about caring for your neighbor.
Yes. And care is at the root of socialism. Like, that's why mutual aid and essentially, like, the core responsibility of an elected official, I think, is to lessen suffering, to improve people's lives, to make sure that everyone has access to live a life of dignity. And here's the thing, Wisconsinites care about one another. And I had someone email us the other day about how, you know, I wish you'd talk more about socialism through the lens of rural Wisconsin. Like, whoa, how the fuck are we supposed to do that? And it's about the fact that it's already happening in, like, the character in the community, where before someone goes out to snow blow their driveway, you've got someone coming through with the plow. With somebody's barn gets hit in a tornado or natural disaster, the community comes together, fundraises, make sure that family's okay. If you get a flat tire on the side of the road, like I do think that someone even with a Trump sticker on the back of their car is gonna pull over and help me. Like these are things that are so rooted in Wisconsin values, and socialism and care is so rooted in our history. I think that, you know, it only makes sense that our Wisconsin pride, the best way to reflect that is through social.
Yeah, and like the thing is, again, I love history because it shows us that these ideas are actually American and they are part of our communities. And like, it's always been farmers and labor. It has been the rural and the urban that have come together to fight against Wall Street, to fight against the banks, to fight against, you know, outside lobbyists and interest groups. And think ideas like grain elevator, communally owned grain elevators, and like, you know,
co-ops, farmer co-ops. I think that, you know, we You think about the labor movement too, there were small business owners who partnered with labor to take on the massive corporate interests.
Right.
Like, this is where folks understood the system was getting more and more rigged against them, and that the antidote to that, these awful, symptoms of capitalism that cause so much suffering, was to band together and fight for one another against corporate corruption. And I think that in Wisconsin, we've shown that whether it's sewer socialism or the fact that we are the state of fighting Bob LaFollette and Bell Phillips, like, these were people who were told their ideas were insane and absurd, and how could you think that this is something we could do? And now folks are looking at them as visionaries. But when they first introduced these ideas of caring for everyone, they were dismissed because the system, that's what it does. Fascism wins when we are told to stop imagining better, to stop dreaming. And that's why I think it's so important, as you noted, that we go back to holding on to hope, remembering that we deserve hope, and that love and hope as an antidote to fascism is how.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm glad you put it that way, because I feel like for a lot of people that are struggling and feeling despair, joining this fight, I can tell you from my personal experience, is a way through that darkness. Like, when you go out and you knock some doors with a stranger that you met, and you see how many of your neighbors agree with you and they felt disconnected and alone, that's only going to make you feel even more strong and more confident. And I want to talk a little bit about, connecting that with something a little bit more concrete, if you don't mind, which is right now, our party, the Democratic Party, is facing a reckoning over Gaza and Israel-Palestine. Now, obviously, you're a governor, but states still have laws against, for example, BDS, or they invest pensions in Israeli bonds or in Israeli companies. Do you feel that this is a moment of clarity where we have a position like the one on the Gaza genocide that's going to separate those people that maybe don't have the same moral intuitions from those that are going to fight the tough fights? Like, is that a clear example? And where do you stand on the Gaza genocide, BDS, and all these other issues?
The people deserve leaders who lead with moral courage and moral clarity. And the litmus test is to say explicitly that what is happening in Gaza is a genocide. I authored the right to boycott law, which is a bill that is a clean repeal of the state's current anti-BDS legislation. Right. We, like many other states, had the IRA bill come up, the International Holocaust.
Which, Chad, just let me explain it, which equated anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism. It equated, like, criticisms of the Israeli state's actions with anti-Semitism, which is completely absurd.
Well, and it's anti-democratic, right? It's a suppression of free speech and often leads to punitive measures or punishing folks who are speaking out against Israel. So we were part of organizing votes against that. The governor ultimately signed it into law, but that's where you have executive action that has directly to do with ensuring that we're fighting for Palestinian liberation. Is that, I've committed to repealing that legislation, signing legislation to repeal the current IRA bill. So these are things where the governor can not only take action in the state, but also set the expectations, the vision, and the values that if we are going to lead, and if Wisconsin is going to be a state that actually values human rights, then we have to ensure that, we're supporting, we're fighting for the pro-Palestine movement, and that folks understand that the liberation of Palestinians is intrinsically tied to the liberation of all of us.
Right, and one of the things that made me want to support you was that you had that clarity from the beginning, right? You were a pro-Palestinian advocate even well before the current genocide, the recommitting of Israeli aggression that everybody is seeing. You were supportive of Palestine, in 2021 and before. And so I think that kind of moral clarity and that ability to separate right from wrong is an asset that very few other politicians and leaders bother doing. You know what I mean? Like some people will chase after sentiment, but you're a leader. You're a moral leader, which is exactly what we need right now. We need to have somebody that we can believe in going forward, that when the next crisis happens, you're not going to be trailing behind. You're going to have moral clarity. So I want to thank you for your position on that. But to like bring it back to Wisconsin, obviously you're running for Wisconsin governor. So it's about the day-to-day life of your constituents. It's about helping people achieve their dreams and realize their potential and build families and community.
Yeah.
What policies are you really excited about that are going to help people afford to live, which is such a big problem in America today, is like fewer and fewer people see the American dream as possible, you know, building your own household, having kids, you know, achieving success in your career. So what policies are you putting forward to Wisconsinites that you can show them, I care about you and I care about affordability?
So public education is one of our top priorities. You know, I always say that the right and extremists and even Dems have been complacent when it comes to keeping a strong democracy because we haven't been protecting public education. And in Wisconsin, we've been defunding public schools for the last 16 years. So fully funding public schools will not only do right by our kids, but in Wisconsin, our school funding formula is such where we'll actually lower property taxes by raising taxes on the rich and ensuring that we're funding our public schools. And healthcare. We have to expand Medicaid in Wisconsin and work to build in a strong public option for fair, cheaper healthcare for everyone. And now we're the only campaign too that's actually not just talking about, you know, fair, cheaper healthcare, but taking on hospitals and insurance companies, because healthcare costs are high because healthcare prices are high. So you have to make sure that they're not, you know, ripping off consumers because there's this cold war going on between insurance companies and hospitals.
Right.
And then, you know, the biggest, I've introduced legislation to lower utility costs so that folks aren't having to pay more than 2% of their annual salary divided by 12 on utility bills. And we're seeing with these data centers coming in, with big energy companies going to the state, demanding rate hikes and putting it on the consumer while they're lining their own pockets and doing nothing to invest in clean energy. We have to have policies that both help lower cost, but hold the actual cause of these prices going up, those companies accountable. And if you aren't doing both, I think the policy is not actually going to directly improve and change the material conditions of people's lives.
What do you think about like state enterprise? So I mean like state banks, I mean things like owning, you know, clean energy investment. That's, you know, because a lot, that is the legacy of the New Deal, right?
Yeah.
The Tennessee Valley Authority and investments that return money to the taxpayer, right? Like we have this great opportunity with renewable energy. And we are not
Green bank, public bank.
A green bank, a public bank, right? So we have this dual opportunity to invest and then see a return that also provides low-cost energy, which also cleans up our environment. So it's like a quadruple win.
Yeah.
And I don't see a lot of Democrats taking advantage of that idea. And it's almost like they're mini Republicans and that their only plan is a tax credit and a tax cut or a tax incentive. Do you plan on like recommitting us to a version of the Democratic Party that invests government into, you know, programs that we actually control as a society, as a community, rather than just shareholders that are, again, in DC or Zurich or God knows where?
It's unsustainable and irresponsible unless we have a more democratic economy. And that's exactly what those programs would be. And what we've been doing with tax exemptions and subsidies and trying to rely on the private sector to actually care about what happens to the public has not worked. We've seen a public bank work in North Dakota, and we actually saw that in times like COVID, when we needed to get resources directly to people, North Dakota did it much more efficiently because they had that public bank infrastructure. I would love to see, and we're starting to give local municipalities in the state the authority to and the pathway to have publicly owned utilities. And they're then being, making it more viable to potentially have it statewide. But a public bank where we're, committed to actually providing lower interest loans, no interest loans to help with, small businesses actually not just scale, but be sustainable. That's how we get permanent affordable housing, is to make sure that these developers actually do have reliable financing to be able to build that housing. Because a lot of the times we're not giving the incentives that make developers commit to building affordable housing. And we don't, we can't be risk tolerant when we have fewer resources. Why not actually commit to collaboration and having, when we are pro-public, we are being more democratic when we have in building a stronger economy that actually serves working people.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think this is kind of the realm of policy making opportunity that we have.
Yeah.
Is that there's actually, and this is something that I've been trying to start discourse about, which is our opportunity as democratic socialists is there's so much low-hanging fruit. There are so many things we can do that we know work, are cheap, are well demonstrated, and give us an opportunity to let me get you a side table or something.
No, I'm good.
Okay, sorry about that.
It's good stretching.
So like things like, as you said, like for example, Dakota's having state banks.
Yeah.
Those are deep red states. Are they communist? Like we have the opportunity to provide like services that will make the state's balance sheet better, will provide non-tax revenues that will enhance the ability of Wisconsinites to like develop their own communities and provide, as you say, lower cost for investment.
Yeah.
Like, this is something that other countries do, right? Like in Switzerland, for example, that's a country that everybody thinks of as hyper-capitalist, but they own all of their utilities. And so they had a lot lower inflation during COVID because their utilities did not price gouge, while all the surrounding countries in Europe that didn't have publicly owned utilities saw their rates skyrocket, even as costs remain flat.
Yeah, it turns out when you have more publicly owned enterprise, it protects the public.
Right, exactly.
And when the public is protected, especially when it comes to assets, that ends up meaning that there's more a little bit of spending authority that will help maintain the economy.
Right, exactly.
And speaking of redder states doing cool shit, like Montana taking on big money in politics, Hawaii and Montana now putting in transparency measures until we can finally overturn Citizens United. I mean, working class folks, when you realize more and more that you're getting screwed, you should be pissed, you should be demanding change. And there's more of us. Like, this is the year of the many and not just the money. And I think we really have to embrace that, which is why organizing is so important, which is why also being radically welcoming of the diverse coalition that we need to bring and the folks who may be joining us. And even if, especially if you're a centrist Democrat, I welcome you to explore these ways to help improve your life too.
Yeah, no, the one thing that I want to maybe challenge you a little bit on is constitutional hardball.
Ooh.
So the reality is that we've spent over 20 years, since 2000, the right has really played constitutional hardball, especially in places like Wisconsin, where they heavily gerrymandered, where they, did what they could to go after the Supreme Court, did what they could to, gerrymander the state legislature, and, they went after the public unions, and all these things that there was no mandate for, but really enhanced their power in an anti-democratic fashion. Now, right now, we just experienced the U.S. Supreme Court basically gutting the Voting Rights Act and gerrymandering black voters out of representation throughout the South, basically pretending like racism is solved. So now everything should be Republican south of the Mason-Dixon. And so we have states north of the border, right, where you and I want to have a fair system. I want to have proportional representation. I want to have ranked choice voting. I want to have the voters be fully represented. However, the context is like, what, we're going to let them cheat and then we will do something fair so that they're represented fairly in the North, but in the South, they gerrymander the hell out of people. I know that a lot of people are interested in perhaps, you know, creating some sort of tit for tat so that everybody understands we need to have a national solution for fair districts and not just unilaterally disarm. And I know this is a challenging position. I'm sorry, I should have warned you, but I strongly feel, and maybe you disagree with me, that we cannot allow them to get away with gerrymandering themselves to power that they don't actually have while we keep fair districts. So do you think that it is reasonable to respond in kind to the Republican gerrymandering that's taking place throughout the country just to try to keep it, you know, fair, and so that we actually have the ability to gain power? Because you have the experience in Wisconsin of seeing a gerrymandering that was so bad where they had like 45% of the vote, they got 60-some% of the seats.
Yep.
So you know firsthand that when they get the opportunity, they're going to play constitutional hardball. So do you think that we should do the same? I'm sorry.
No, I mean, I don't want to show up to a firefight with a knife. But I think that you're absolutely right when you have a party that is manufacturing power and then wielding that power to disenfranchise voters, to cause massive harm and suffering and create the type of wealth inequality that I think is historic at this point. It doesn't make a lot of sense to play by the rules. And I think right now, I'll be honest, the maps that were passed in 2023, I always say they're fairer. I don't think that.
Right. So we need a new map.
So new maps and ensuring that the politicians stay the fuck away from building these maps, right? We need an independent redistricting commission for permanent fair map. And, you know, I want folks to think about kind of building a fortress in the state to combat what's happening with the Trump regime and their fascist antics. And while it's hard for the states to override federal authority, we're not required to participate. And so I think some
more resistance at the state level.
Resistance while fighting to ensure that we have actual. And when you're fighting for fairness against manufactured power, you better bring in a map that power.
Right.
And I know that governing is not going to work in a state, in our current political state, unless you have someone who is willing to use to the fullest extent the power of the.
Sorry about that. Yeah, they were just saying, I'm a lot louder than you. I'm sorry. So my microphone is tuned for me yelling because I'm a loud guy. What was I saying? No, totally, 100%. I think we're in a tough situation where the Republican Party is no longer a small d Democratic Party. And what I mean by that is, in order for democracy to function, we must at least accept the legitimacy of the other side. Like if we have an election and you know, not you, but someone hypothetically loses,
right?
They should accept the judgment of the voters, even if they disagree, and say, you are the legitimate victor. I will be a loyal opposition, right? I may not agree with you. I may oppose you on the policies, but you have the right to rule. And it seems like the Republicans are no longer have that democratic norm. They question the legitimacy of any Democrat. They talk about disenfranchising, cities. They talk about disenfranchising blue states. And I worry that unless they feel there's some sort of like tit for tat threat, like they're going to actually suffer consequences for being anti-democratic, that they're not going, it's like heads I win, tails I get a fair game. You know what I mean? Like that is an unsustainable situation. It has to either be fair or it has to be, we have a struggle here. And I worry that we're getting to that point. Like Donald Trump right now is trying to force through a very anti-democratic elections bill in the House that even Republicans, MAGA Republicans in the Senate, they think is bad and anti-democratic and dangerous.
Yeah, and they're pissed that the housing bill was stalled because of it.
Right, and there was a bipartisan housing bill, which, not the way I would do housing, but better than nothing, I guess. And Donald Trump is trying to hold that hostage in order to get a bill that questions and undermines our democracy. So that's why the only reason I'm pushing you is it's like, I think we need to contend with the fact that MAGA Republicans are not they're not a Democratic Party.
Yeah.
They disrespect the voters. They don't care what the majority says. And they're interested in wielding their power in a way which is fundamentally anti-democratic and dangerous.
Yeah. And I want Republican politicians to be punished for basically allowing, never standing up. And the ones that were standing up to Trump got punished. They should be held accountable. But I don't want their voters to suffer.
Regular
more.
people are different than politicians.
Yes.
Just because someone was a Republican doesn't mean, like, they may have been a Republican for a lot of different reasons.
Right.
But it's not about them. It's the way the politician class is operating.
And that's where the policy has to be complex and thorough, where, I want to make sure that I'm a governor for the folks who didn't vote for me, too. I want to make sure that they know I want them to have great health care and good schools in their communities and, affordable housing and healthy food. And I want our farmers who, to be able to actually feed people again instead of getting crushed by big ag and tariffs. And speaking of election denial, the fucking Republican candidate is an election denying traitor. He's a pedophile protector, and he is up here celebrating tariffs that are literally bankrupting our farmers. And in the beginning of 2025, we unfortunately had farmers die by suicide. So to have somebody like that even have the audacity to run for governor of Wisconsin, of course I want to make sure that we're calling him out for that. But when it comes to the fairness and challenging the Constitution and making sure that we are, dismantling manufactured power of the Republicans, of course, I want to do that, but I will always put the folks who have suffered because of the Republicans' decisions. I want to make sure that their lives get.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense to me.
That was a little political. But
Yeah.
I just that's where I'm at. I love, truly. I talked to a Trump voter the other day. He had the hat on. It wasn't MAGA. It was Trump something else. But we were in Hayward, Wisconsin. I was up there for Muskie Fest. Dreaming of going to Muskie Fest. And I don't even I didn't even see that many. I truly.
Yeah.
But I introduced myself. I said I'm running for governor, and I asked him 2 questions. I said, what are you most proud of in your community? And what is something that you care about most right now? We ended up fucking talking about public schools.
Right.
His daughter's a teacher, and his wife works as the clerk. So voting is, and he's a poll worker. Dude is wearing a Trump hat. And I'm like, we never talked about it. I didn't even bring up Tiffany. I just said, look, there is nothing more patriotic to me than you working the polls on election day and supporting your wife and their one-room schoolhouse where people go to vote. Yeah. And you care about public education. And will he vote for me? I don't know. Was I becoming a little bit I'm nauseously hopeful that maybe there are folks who kind of start to get it, or he still sees me as, the option that's not a Democrat or a Republican.
Right. Yeah.
But hopefully he, I think he'll remember that conversation.
Well, I think people like you are actually breaking that team sports mentality, right? Because our politics has gotten to this point where a lot of people are checked out because it doesn't matter. And the people that remain, they see it as blue team, red team. Yeah. It's like rooting for the Brewers or something.
Yeah.
It's not like a set of policies to make our lives better.
Yeah.
It's I want to cheer and beat my rival. And I think somebody like you is somebody that could break through and return our politics back to the way it once was, which is a question of making your life better.
Yeah.
And a question of interest. And a material politics. So he may not vote for you this time, but I guarantee you, after you win, he would vote for your reelection. And that is that's the thing that I want to see.
Yeah.
Which is, and you're seeing it in New York.
Yeah.
To bring it back to New York, because your politics is being tested right now on the national stage.
Yeah.
Everybody said that if the Democratic Socialists got into power in New York City, it would be some big disaster and all the billionaires would leave and the crime would go out of control.
Show me the numbers,
right?
folks.
And the reality is crime is down.
Yeah.
More potholes are being fixed than ever before.
Look how quickly the sidewalks got plowed because they paid folks to shovel.
Right. And that is what sewer socialism is. You want to expand the responsibility of our community, but you actually want to accomplish what the tasks that are already assigned. You're going to do it in an outstanding way because you're going to sweep aside the corruption. You're going to sweep aside the good old boy networks. You're going to sweep aside, you know, the kind of leaky way that government has been done. You know, when a Republican says, vote for me, government doesn't work, they keep that promise.
Yeah.
So you are going to show the opposite, which is vote for me, government can make your life better, and actually keep the promise.
Government has to be a force of good. And one of the things that, you know, Republicans have been doing, especially in Wisconsin, very intentionally, is to make government dysfunctional. And what has that done? It has made it so that schools are closing, that we are seeing rural communities not getting the investment they deserve with younger folks coming back. We have a childcare crisis. We have a caregiving crisis. Our public schools are continuing to struggle. People are paying higher and higher property taxes because the Republicans defunded our schools. So we have to not only bring in a cultural reckoning around government can be a force of good, but we have to do it with policies that are actually going to move that needle as quickly as possible. Every 2 years, we got fucking elections, right? So in that first 2 years, we have to make sure that we are pushing for the policies that will, as you said, material improve the conditions of people's lives. Because I bet you if people feel and see government is actually changing and doing something for them, they're going to vote for Dems again. Right. We'll probably be able to maintain power. And one of the biggest things that the state has to do is actually make sure that our local municipalities have the resources they need. Because right now, a lot of the taxes that are coming into the state coffers, you know, Republicans have been hoarding that money from municipalities. And then things like, you know, what Mayor Mamdani is doing in New York, we're going to fix potholes too. We're going to make sure the state pays its fair share to your city, Milwaukee, to your city, Eau Claire, to your city, Green Bay, because it's not a surprise that Voss and the Republicans have been passing legislation that hamper these cities that we need to grow and creating this rural-urban resentment.
Right.
It's despicable because rural, urban, suburban communities, our Wisconsin values are the same in those. But we're told that we're different, and we're told that some folks are more deserving than others. And it's, I think it's one of the things that I need every legislator in Wisconsin to be with me and making the politically uncomfortable decision so that more of our voters are living comfortable lives.
Right. You know, that is something that is really interesting because, like, the engines of our economy in the 21st century are our cities, right? And when you look at states like Wisconsin or even New York, more money flows out of the cities to the state coffers than comes back.
Yeah.
And I think a little bit more balance is a way to make our cities capable of fulfilling the services that everybody needs, you know?
That's why shared revenue is such a huge priority of mine. And it's kind of wonky, but I'm like, it's cities and towns getting what they deserve. I don't think any township should have to wait to buy a snowplow because they don't have enough money from the state, right? Like, snowplows are fucking important in Wisconsin, in a small town. And maintaining rural roads and making sure that rural schools stay open. This all is the responsibility of the state to make sure that our smaller communities are getting their fair share of revenue. And then we're holding accountable the cities and counties who may not be using those resources to benefit the entire community.
This may be a question that only I would ask you about, but what do you think about, you know, reforms to geographic borders of, like, you know, municipalities, you know, things like that, like regionalism and sort of like more effectively managing the government, maybe removing duplication where there's too much, you know, like combining different forms of government, maybe county, city, things like that. In order to provide more money for services and less money on bureaucratic duplication. Do you think about that?
I think about that a lot. So much. And this is actually, I've talked to Republicans on the assembly floor about, you know, the red tape and the bureaucracy that Republicans talk about for fucking political points, to try to say but we can have tech upgrades to our state websites, right? So that they're easier to navigate, to understand what services are actually available to you. I think that there's actually very much an apartheid between like Milwaukee County and then the surrounding WOW counties. When you look at where those resources are going, I think I don't want to get in too much trouble on what some of my bigger ideas are, but also some of the nepotism that exists in certain local governments, especially smaller towns, smaller counties. Folks are tired of that. And I think that if there were more accountability and efficiency built in to how we allocate state services, we only have 8 congressional districts in Wisconsin. We have fucking 72 counties. We have more counties in Wisconsin than California.
Right, and there's definitely some, there's some. I mean, let me tell you, I'm from Pennsylvania, and it's even worse there. Like, it's absolutely a disaster with the amount of municipalities they have, and it costs a lot of money to maintain that, and it's also very inefficient because you'll have like water systems, and then it's like subdivided, and it creates all sorts of problems that a little bit of unification could make more efficient. Right?
But it's real scary for folks.
Well, it's scary, definitely. Okay, so right now we're at 31,605. This is combining both of our fundraisers, okay? So that's pretty good. So we're gonna absolutely mog Hassan. My goal for this was to absolutely mog Hassan. So if Hassan does not raise at least 32,605, because I said if we broke 30, I'd give another 1,000. Why do I do this to myself?
I love it.
Yeah, of course you guys.
I love it.
And here's what we'll do. I love
how you've been caressing that this whole time.
I've been caressing the bag, but they don't deserve it. All right? Until we get to 32,500 in the fundraiser so far, because my 1,000 is still hanging out. That's a pledge right now. I'll show you what's in the bag. You want to see what's in the bag? We need another $900. Then we'll show you what's in the bag. But it's pretty full.
Let's do it, chat.
There's a lot in here. Okay, what was I saying? Yeah. The other question I have for you is what do you think about resistance to Trump's policies? This is a very difficult question because what I mean by that is, I'll give you an example.
Okay.
The district attorney of Philadelphia, Larry Krasner, he did a speech relatively recently where he said that if ICE agents violate any laws while in Philadelphia, he will prosecute. So he basically put them on notice that they're not going to get an assist where they could just commit crimes and assault people and just kind of get a pass because they're working for the federal government. That he will hold them accountable for any violations of human rights or any crimes they commit. Do you think that is the right attitude to be having towards Trump, where we say, hey, this is a dual sovereignty system? You're coming into our communities to target our neighbors. If you violate anybody's rights, you're going to jail. Is that something that you think the state of Wisconsin should do? Resist more openly to Trump and say, hey, you better follow all the laws? Or do you think a more conciliatory approach that has been pursued by a lot of Democrats, like Eric Adams formerly did, or other centrist Democrats? Like, what do you think? Should we be...
Well, not only the DAs, I want to make sure our state attorney general has the authority to prosecute individual ICE agents. Again, there is the 10th Amendment making it so that it's difficult for state authority to override federal authority, but we don't have to fucking participate in it. And I think that punitive measures, combined with making sure folks know where resources are, that your governor is on your side, especially when it comes to the enforcers of fascism that is ICE, that we have executive orders to prohibit any cooperation between local law enforcement and ICE, that I think it's important to recognize the work on the ground that's happening in our communities where we are seeing more ICE activities, that it's not enough to just say that we're going to help fund organizations. We need to make sure that those funds are going to people who are providing those Know Your Rights training, that mutual aid work to help keep people safe. There's the punitive measure, and to make sure that we're providing the resources and they're getting to folks on the ground.
Beautiful. Yeah, no, totally. I agree completely. Well, chat, what do you guys want to know? If you have any questions, I've been looking at the chat. Every time she wears, I wears. Somebody is saying my potty mouth governor. Which by the way, Reagan fucked us, chat. Reagan fucked us, okay? So we have to be, you know, I think that's actually one of the things that rubs people the wrong way, which is like this performance of civility for uncivil policy. You know,
that's a bar.
You know what I mean? Like you're like, oh, I won't say the bad word, but I'll do the bad thing. And it's like, I'd rather somebody speak plain and fight for regular people than the other way around, right? Like,
I just think it's a pretty appropriate response to these times and what's going on. And I don't think politicians should shy away from being emotional when that's what a lot of voters, our communities, are feeling. Scared, frustration, pure rage. Like it's very, I would say that's, again, appropriate way to react and respond to what's going on. I've been attacked quite a bit for swearing. It's kind of, but like, I came up through working in kitchens, and it turns out behind the scenes, politicians swear more than chefs do on the line.
Yeah.
But last I checked, Jacob Fry, our Governor Evers, Gretchen Whitmer, like, folks are out here saying bullshit and damn and fuck, and I started a trend.
You started the trend, yeah. One question I have for you that is a little bit from one of your Wisconsin voters, who said, which is Chedevo.
Okay.
He said,
Chedevo.
Milwaukee voter here, what are your thoughts on the AI data center being constructed in Port Washington? I know locals are very upset.
They have every right to be upset. I mean, I think that is a data center campus that is going to be larger than the University of Wisconsin-Madison campus. And you know, we are the only campaign to take the strongest stance of supporting a 1-year moratorium on the construction of new hyperscale AI data centers. Now, we don't want taxpayers to be on the hook. We don't want to see utility rates go up. We want these developers to make sure that the proposals are happening not behind closed doors with NDAs, but the community actually has access to what will happen, that there is a commitment beyond a promise for good jobs and investments in infrastructure, investments in clean energy infrastructure. Right. If they're gonna be here, they better pay their whole way and pay up front, because our natural resources are not for sale, and Wisconsin will not be bought out by big tech. Communities have a right to community control, and Wisconsin has very loose environmental regulations when it comes to holding polluters accountable. If they're gonna, you know, if there's potential to pollute our waters, our air, impact public health, they better be paying for all of the testing, remediation services. They need to make sure that they're investing in communities by building things like affordable housing, what communities actually need, if that community decides to do it. But we need a full pause to be able to actually enforce these measures. It doesn't make sense to keep it going and think that at the scale and speed in which these things are being built, they're going to slow down just because we have someone coming in and saying, you should be doing all of this. No, moratorium, look at the projects and make sure we're protecting communities, and they decide if they want to move forward, that the guardrails are in place.
Yeah, one question I had was about the way that these data centers have been going in.
Yeah.
They have been bringing in natural gas plants. They've been in Pennsylvania. I've heard that they are trying to build these data centers on defunct coal plants and then reignite, which would be a tremendously damaging, you know, for the environment if we're going, you know, using coal infrastructure or something like that for low cost electricity, right?
Yeah.
What about the possibility of requiring any kind of electrical expansion be done through renewable energy?
Yep.
You know, Wisconsin has, you know, wind potentiality and other forms of renewable energy potentiality, where we could require upgrades of the electrical grid, require things like green energy for all capacity
and
growth.
Create green jobs.
Exactly.
Green union jobs.
And when all these AI bubbles burst, you'll have the green energy that'll stay because once everybody accept the chatbot isn't going to replace all workers. Maybe that's just my opinion. Well, I guess we'll see.
Which, by the way, we're also the only campaign to actually have policies on protecting workers in an AI era and consumers from AI exploitation. But we want to make sure that, a lot of these companies are operating on borrowed money. Like, I talk to folks in the business sector, some folks who are not thrilled about the moratorium policy. And I'm very, I understand the number of good paying union jobs that the construction and the builds and companies that will be providing some of the supplies for building these things. And I want folks to know that that is a very difficult conversation that everyone should be having in terms of understanding the nuances of this and where local governments have been starved of resources and now these centers are coming in. But they're to put the state on that financial hook as well as the impact to public health and natural resources, nobody should have to choose between putting the food on the table with a job that pays well and compromising, water quality for your family. And I think what I tell people who are big into, whether it's in the investment world, what have you, it's why would we want to go into business with companies that are often operating with borrowed money, right? We're going to go into business with someone who may already be operating at a loss or already broke, that, to put the state in that sort of fiscal position while also compromising literally the public health of the public.
Right.
To me, make it make sense.
It does. I mean, it's a lot of speculation.
Yeah.
Right? And
promises. We can't be doing this on promises.
Right. I mean, it is a little bit crazy. Well, chat delivered. We're at 32,935. So
thank you.
I said that we would go into the bag. So I hope you don't mind. We'll try to do it quick. Let's see what we have here, chat. The first is the Madison DSA. Now, unfortunately for me, I'm not the biggest hat guy.
That one looks great on you, though.
This one does look great on me. A little bit of a
my home chapter, MADSA.
Oh, we have a rivalry between the Madison and the Milwaukee DSA? Do we have a rivalry?
We are all working in coalition to help build a Hong administration.
That is the most politician answer you've given yet. So
I love Madison DSA and Milwaukee DSA and Cooley DSA, Rock River DSA, Northeast DSA. And we've got some folks up north trying to build a chapter. Try to shout out Vilas County.
Yeah, this is my Tim Pool beanie, but this one is the Milwaukee DSA. You guys can see that. Hell yeah! Right now, it's a little bit warm in Southern California, so I might go back with the trucker hat.
Hey.
Let's see what else we've got. Oh, okay, ladies and gentlemen, look at that.
The new brand. Yeah.
Got the Milwaukee DSA. And this is why I think your campaign is so important, at least to me, is there's two types of progressive politicians, right? There's the progressive politicians that talk good on the issues, but fundamentally the campaign is about them and their career. And then there are politicians like yourself who are building something that is a dual track, right? You're building an organization that's going to carry on and that you're going to be a part of. And you're going to leave something that's indelible, no matter what happens, right? And building up our power as a class, as opposed to just, I don't want us to see what happened with Obama, right? The Obama era mistake that he made is he made Obama for America, right? And then when he got into power, it was allowed to kind of die. Whereas politicians like yourself or Zoran, not to bring him up too much, but other socialist politicians throughout the country, they're building up DSA. And you could see the results immediately with Claire Valdez came on this stream and Daria Lisa. And
I can't wait to meet them.
Amazing socialist politicians that are now in power because we're building it through an organization that's really a democratic organization, not one that's top down.
Well, one of the biggest reasons I'm running for governor is to build working people power, working class power, and the avenues to do that through organizing, to fighting, to building communities so much of that can be done through DSA. And so we have to carry forward and build power. Yup.
Okay, this is for chat. This is for VO. This is for VO, chat. I'm not. They're gonna be like, people are gonna be like, what? Is the hottie in the other room? Like,
everybody is a hottie for
everybody's a hottie.
Yes.
Yeah. Under socialism, we're all hotties. Yeah.
In Hong, Wisconsin, everybody is a hottie.
Thank you. That's good. And then, last but not least, we've got ourselves the ultimate this is the slogan of the campaign. Reagan fucked us, Paul. Well, here's the thing. They're gonna learn the business end of the socialist movement. We're gonna give as better than we got. And I think that's what they're scared of.
Yeah.
All right, let's see here. Okay, we're at 3397. There's no way Hassan has a chance. Hassan is fucking mogged. Completely mogged. Completely fucking mogged. We're like, there's no chance. And, obviously the Hassan chatters are going to be a little bit salty about it, but it's okay.
It's a healthy competition's okay.
There's no
I want everybody to get along and build community. That's what it's what the campaign's about.
No, it's not. It's about me showing that I'm the better. No, I'm kidding. And of course, we got the toe. Is there a place where people can maybe pick up some of the campaign's amazing merch?
Well, this is very special merch for you.
Oh, wow.
But folks can go to francescahong.com where you can sign up to volunteer. We do Monday phone banks. You can host events. You can donate. You go to the store, you can find all of our merch. And I think you'll find that the Hong for Governor campaign community, there's a lot of really fucking cool people. And we'd love for you to join us.
Beautiful. Okay. Is there any other issues or calls to action, right? Do we have any volunteer links?
So on our socials at Francesca Hong WI, you'll see that there are Students for Hong group, different parts of the state who are doing their own regional organizing. Shout out Sheboygan for Hong. They've been killing it. Wisconsin Rapids and Portage County, folks in Western Wisconsin. And so, regardless of where you are in the state or outside of the state, there are folks who are doing some really incredible events, everything from like a repair cafe. I encourage people also who are thinking about running for office to bring that like creativity and community into your campaign. Yesterday, folks came together at our headquarters in Madison. They brought their bikes for repair, clothing that may have been mended. Oh, yeah. People made art. That's what building community is having these social spaces where we remind ourselves we get to have joy in building resistance against authoritarianism. And we get to have that purpose with other people in fighting to make things better. And I think that's what's been energizing me, giving me hope when this shit gets really grueling. And everyone is coming after us in every which way, from the Democrats and the Republicans, folks in between. They'll say what they say, but what they can't ever challenge and take away are just incredible folks in the movement who are going to help us carry this forward, no matter what happens in August.
Oh, and I think that that's such a good point, because like this campaign, I have a lot of faith in you and in our ultimate victory, but I also believe there's going to be so many more leaders that emerge, right? That is the certainty. And we're going to have a continuing opportunity. That's why New York is such a good example. I keep drawing us back because I like to grab hold of real examples. Yeah. And it's like Daria Lisa, Claire, they were organizers in Zoran's campaign.
And look at what Melat's doing in Colorado.
Melat, exactly, yeah. And she's tomorrow. She's got her primary. Melat's a great example. And but Zoran was an organizer in Julia Salazar's campaign and AOC's campaign. Yeah. And so you're seeing people, and this is something that I'm telling people, right now with DSA, we've got 110,000 members. Yeah. There has never been a time in American history where you can join an organization that will have more impact on the future than DSA right now. Yeah. If you ever wanted to make an impact, you have that ability. And that individual power comes from our collective power.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like you have agency, you can change. And a lot of the people that are joining right now to help the candidates like yourself, 2 years from now, 4 years from now, those same people are going to be called upon.
Yeah.
So like this is a time for ambitious people of conscience to join up and like give. And so I want to thank you for like being one of the trailblazers that, you know, the proof of concept. You guys are awesome. Let's see here. Okay. One more call for the fundraisers, guys. I think you have another thing you're going to, right?
Yeah.
In a couple hours.
In a couple hours. I don't know. The streams, the Hasanabi, something like that.
Hasanabi? Okay. I've never heard of it. They're probably a pretty small streamer, but good on them for taking a stand on an important race. It's okay. We'll see how they do, you know, as far as fundraising. It would be, you know, I don't want to embarrass them by too much, but
I'll just say that especially the last few weeks, we have shown our resiliency and our strength. They've been tearing up Oppo and throwing it at us. We're seeing big money now come into the race. And I keep saying this over and over, but this campaign, our movement, DSA's power, we do this in Wisconsin, we will actualize and prove that it is truly about the many and not just the money. But I need money to be able to prove that.
Right. Well, it's people money. It's, you know, like, the thing is, like, their money, they're spending it on some pretty boring ass ads, right? Like, but we don't have to have as much money as them, but we need some money so that we can present our argument. Now, our arguments are a lot more popular, but we have to achieve a certain level of volume.
Yeah.
And I have no problem achieving a lot of volume, but for you to succeed, you have to be able to have some of the tools.
Yeah.
So donating to you is huge.
And I can only do this because I have an amazing team. And I think what makes our campaign team so special is that we've got folks with, you know, a plethora of institutional knowledge, having worked for Dems and campaigns, and we have folks who've never worked on a campaign before, and it helps us stay grounded and not being like in tunnel vision of how we can reach so many different people across the state. A lot of folks who campaigns never reach. And it is truly people powered when we say the folks who are volunteering for our campaign, many have never volunteered for a campaign before. They've never been engaged in politics. When we are bringing in new people to start to organize with us, new people to join DSA, to give each other something more to believe in. I mean, that first fundraising deadline, we had more individual donations than the next two candidates, my opponents, combined. We're talking about a donor dollar average of less than $50 a person. We've hit over 13,000 individual donations.
Right.
You know, over 10,000 unique donors. The maximum that you can donate as an individual to the governor's race is $20,000. So I've got opponents who may have, you know, 100, 150, 200, $20,000 donors.
Right.
You do the math, whereas we are a donor from every single county in Wisconsin, all 72 counties, and every state across the country.
So obviously money's important, but if you're somebody who has a little bit more money, more time than money, and you want to get involved, like, we should not underestimate the power of volunteer work. You know, so I'm spamming the volunteer link I got from your website.
Hell yeah.
So everybody go volunteer as well. Sign up for a canvassing shift.
Yes.
If you're in Wisconsin. If you're outside Wisconsin, sign up for a phone bank.
You can help us write postcards. But phone banking actually is pretty fun, turns out. Even though I'm a millennial and I hate talking on the phone, it's fun when you get to talk about this campaign you believe in.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a door knocker, chat, but we'll do phone calls too. You know, you can't hate on the phone calls. They make a difference. And I know the power of these online communities. So let's take all that energy and all that heart that we have for what we believe in and turn it into something tangible. So sign up for it. Throw a couple more dollars in. If you're not an American, I don't believe, unless you're a permanent resident, you're allowed to donate. Can they campaign in Wisconsin, or is that against the rules? Do you know?
You can come door knock, absolutely.
Okay.
We can't take your money.
Yeah. Obviously, no foreign money. Because I know that there are a lot of people here who are, interested and invested in the movement. And so I feel like there is it, as long as you're not being paid to volunteer, I think that's okay. So you could do some phone calls from, Toronto or something, and that's not a problem.
Already over 40,000 doors that our volunteers have knocked. Not a single person was a paid canvasser. I didn't realize that was a thing until maybe my second or third. I was like,
oh, wow, yeah.
But then I met someone I was knocking doors last year.
Well, paid canvassers are actually pretty garbage because they fake numbers a lot. And so whenever you're relying on paid canvassing, you are in bad shape.
Yep.
But the Democratic Party, I mean, they'll do that, right?
Well, and I ran into a couple of Trump canvassers on the ground last year.
Oh, yeah, the Republicans pay, too. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, I don't want to keep you here too long. Obviously, you've got your next meeting, so I want to give you plenty of time for that. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, of course.
Thanks
for all the gifts.
I'm a swag hag, so we'll always be about the merch. But thank you for believing in us.
Well, chat, I'm going to actually dip off early today, just a few minutes. I think Hassan is live. So because this young and up-and-coming streamer is apparently going to be hosting you soon, I will help him grow by rating you guys over. So thank you guys. Oh, did I? Okay.
I don't know how this works.
Okay, we're doing it. All right. Well, so we're sending over viewers. All right. Thank you guys, gals, non-binary pals for all your support. One more time. Donate to Francesca. Let me just spam. We're almost at 35,000. Almost.
Oh my God.
You can also give me money through Twitch. That's also okay. You're allowed to do both. If you already gave 20,000 to Fran, you can give your next money to me. All right. Well, thank you guys, gals, non-binary pals, for all your support. Good luck.
I
know you're going to do well and make us proud.
Thanks, everyone. Oh, thanks, chat.
I'll see you soon, everybody. All right, we got some donations. Bye. Hold on. Twitch, hold on. You're killing me. Bye, everybody.
Bye, folks.